Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 20 minutes after 6. Tell us who's online.
Everybody's crying, whinging that we're not live on YouTube. What's going on?
Ah.
I don't know, man. Peter says, good morning. Tuesday, guys are you streaming live? Well, we should be. It looks like everything is okay. Just give it a check just again.
Edna, please check. It's coming up now. All right.
Voila.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ndu, Eric, and CT.
Hey, I'm the new CT. Yeah.
City Center.
Acting CT.
Acting CT. Just ask Dr. Moth what it feels like to be acting. Happy.
Can say that again.
Happy to hear your voices. That's Peter Wagongo. Wanyonyi says, hello, I'm here watching. Good to see you. Colorado Springs, Colorado. That's where Robert Sanga is. And Junior says, good morning from the Great Wall of Kino. Mohammed Salim, good morning. Good to see you from Mombasa is where Robert Mbogo is. Simon Odhiambo, good morning. Hope your night was enjoyable. Well, thank you. Kindly invite Nancy Macharia to the studio. My brother, we have tried. And let this be by way of invitation yet again. Nancy Macharia to come into the studio. You say Magarini is burning.
Because of the heat.
I'm not sure, man.
I can imagine. You know, that's where Hell's Kitchen is. It's in Magarini. That place called Marafa.
It's hot.
Where? Uh-huh.
Ondicho says, good morning, tuning from Kamthusi in Mwingi. Mwingi is also where MCR James Kimanzi is this morning. Jane Duta, good morning. Politics is becoming worse. Why now? Okay. Then she says, good morning, Ndu, Eric, and Latif. So, both of you.
Both of you. And none of me.
So, we can
You're
give
the
Latif
Latif.
to
You
Sophia.
can give me Eric.
Okay, you want Eric?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Because I can be like Erica.
Eric. She's on the money. Erica. Mlolongo is locked. That's where Nick Tirop is this morning. Quite a number of people online, and the thing has refused to show me where you are. But we see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Karibuni Sana Tuesday.
Everybody's here.
Like that.
Everybody, just like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me get today's proverb from CT. The proverbs from this week are from which country? Do you remember?
Malawi.
Yes, they're from Malawi, right?
The capital is Lilongwe.
And the other one
The
is?
commercial capital is Blantyre.
Okay. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day.
It's a poem too.
Notice? Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day.
That one has landed. Unlike the one you told us yesterday.
You cannot repay kindness. Is that what they're saying?
Just read it again.
Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day.
Not till your dying day.
Yeah.
You can repay kindness.
You can repay kindness. A good deed for a good deed, kindness
Yeah.
for kindness. Yes, you can.
Yeah, they say no, that's not.
Are they just saying
It's not a
humans
debt.
are
Kindness
horrible?
kindness is not a debt.
Yeah, it's not a debt,
I don't owe
but
it to you.
there's this thing that weighs on you, like,
You're not as in
he gave me tea
you should not
yesterday.
be expected to repay kindness.
Yeah.
Je vous.
I
Just
think.
be kind.
Just be kind. Don't be kind because you're paying it forward or stuff like that. Yeah.
Kabisa.
Sawa, let's take a look at the newspaper headlines. What's on the front pages?
On the front page of the Standard, Raila's movement signals end of Azimio. Allah.
Okay, Imesimia.
Just like that.
Mameda.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga has formed a caucus called the Movement for Defense of Democracy, which echoes his well-known political trick of dumping and forming new alliances every election cycle. Will it gain currency like those before it? Is that not a question? We're also seeing on the front page of the Standard, long wait for non-existent fertilizer. All right. People are looking at fertilizer in this picture. Yeah. Then there's a thing here, how to deal with multiple pregnancies. I don't understand. Okay. Like multiple babies. You get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the case we had
For me,
in
it flew
Nakuru.
over. Like, I was like, huh?
That's one pregnancy.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they're saying here.
Yeah, it says multiple pregnancies.
Multiple.
Right.
And then it goes on to say,
Yeah.
when a mother discovers they're carrying more than 2 babies.
Uh-huh.
Like
So
the
when you're carrying a
unfortunate.
twin, when you're carrying twins,
it's not a multiple pregnancy, it's one pregnancy.
that's what I'm wondering.
There's multiple.
Kila mtu akona pregnancy yake huko ndani. Let's honor each baby with calling
When
their
my baby is the one who is pregnant.
and they're the pregnantees.
Pregnantos. Oh, then we saw. Okay. Let me give you some more headlines. Then we can look into the
Yes.
story. Pregnancies. 2,300 dead in Turkey. Terrible earthquake that took place yesterday, and buildings were collapsing at sight. It was horrible to see those pictures. That a country that took some time to just build up a few years ago, and then now this is what we see. Kenyans win round one of the battle with Facebook. We saw that story. We had, representative of that legal case here in the studio. We'll look at that as well. On the front page of the Daily Nation, Form 1 pain as schools defy the state. Some principals have ignored the Ministry of Education's guidelines by turning schools into money-minting businesses, exploiting parents through exorbitant prices of items such as uniforms and imposing extra levies and other hidden charges. Yesterday was horrible. We had people in line for hours. Remember the story I told you of the lady who, when we came to, she had been there for 2
she was
hours
already
waiting. She left the school at 6:43.
PM.
Yes.
What?
What number was she on the queue when she got to school?
When she got to school, she thought she would be the only one. Apparently, everybody
So she got there and she was already number 40.
everybody else thought like her.
And this is just from one admission.
Yes. And mind you, there are those who are coming and applying to the school on the day.
Okay.
There are those who are hoping to get admission with their everything, and they've
Okay.
not gotten previously.
Okay.
Yeah. So now they're processing admissions. They're admitting those who previously got a letter. All of these things happening. Mind you, a lot of secondary schools you don't get your uniform prior to, you get it at the school. So they're doing what?
I
That's
don't
a
understand
mess.
though why
It's a mess.
spend an entire 12 hours.
It was a mess for a lot of
I
folks.
don't get it. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryla's own goal on IEBC is another story on The Nation. And on the back page, public debt crosses the 9 trillion shilling mark.
Okay. Sophia, you have those two.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I had the People Daily at some point. Let me see. Z People, Z Daily. Where is you open? What's wrong with you? Okay, forget about it.
Why not?
It's not opening. Okay, here we go. Workers, firms to pay more for NSSF. Court of Appeal paves way for Ruto government to raise monthly payments from 200 BAB to 2,000 BAB in push to ramp up savings for old age. The move will increase cost of business and cut incomes. The other headline there is Kenya Kwanza targets handshake tax waivers. Top KNH doctors save conjoined twins after 15 hours in theatre. It's a happy story.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Do one.
Do
Tell-
one. Let's do this education one because
Okay.
we have admissions happening between now and next week, Monday.
Yep.
Principals defy state. So remember, it came clear from the office of the CS. Don't do this thing. Do not sell school items. Let's try and have a system whereby you go and buy your items from the shop. Don't do this thing of trying to exploit people. This also additional levies, I don't know, infrastructure development, buy a bus fund. Stop it. Teacher said, oh, okay, thanks.
Come.
And they came. Some principals, especially those in charge of national and extra county boarding schools, have turned institutions into money minting institutions, businesses rather, exploiting parents through exorbitant prices such as uniforms. We had people paying up to 42,000 shillings
For uniforms.
for the full uniform. And they say you must get 2 of each. 2 full uniform plus.
Yeah.
Games kit 2 plus. Swimming plus.
Everything.
Everything
Socks,
times
petticoats,
2.
everything.
And there's
Yes.
a parent here who's saying that I have done the calculations. Had I procured from a bookshop and uniform center, I would have saved around 8,000 shillings. That's how much, according to this parent, the principals are pocketing.
Yep.
It's just bonkers.
They have, and the uniform that you're buying belongs to a company. Company belongs to who?
To principal.
El Principal.
Ah,
Head
munaonea teacher.
Okay.
But this was an issue that the PS spoke about as well, and the CS.
Yeah.
So it is a known trade.
Yeah, but none of them has actually come and said Principal X
Even
runs
the
a shop.
blanket. Have you
That's
seen
why
this
the whole
picture?
Principal X has been taken to court.
He who alleges proves. Listen, there's a picture here of even the blankets, because the blankets must be uniform. They're being bought in school. So you tell me everything, and this is what they're saying. There's a responsibility that the school, as an institution of education, has.
Yes.
Stick to that mandate. This business of coming to sell and then putting your mark on top. Don't do
The
it.
thing is, I think what the Ministry of Education should be doing and what the county directors of education should be doing is actually conducting a spot check and finding out. So, what is the issue here? The school management is saying we'd like uniformity. The whole point of having uniform is for uniformity's sake.
Right.
If you ask for children to come with green blankets and then they come with all shades of green,
They are
Uniform?
blankets.
It's a
Eric.
blanket
They are
for crying out
blankets.
loud.
So are we going to be more successful in
So
life
here's
if
the
we're all
thing.
lime green,
so okay, are you going to be
covering
more?
ourselves at night?
Yes.
We'll be more successful.
No.
We'll pass our exams.
No.
For blankets
But
especially.
you'll have uniform.
Talk about the main
Why do we-
uniform. Blankets, really?
Why is that main uniform important then? Are you gonna pass better because you are in uniform? No.
Uniformity,
the whole
yes.
point of
Give
uniformity.
us, get
So-
those little...
And that is what I'm saying. So what the directors should be saying is, let's look at the issues. Do we want uniform to extend this far? Do we not? So if we say that uniform shall only be in the clothes that you wear, that's it. How much does it cost? And how many kids do you need? And what's the minimum that you can do?
yeah.
Now, those schools can then be told, all right, you can arrange for procurement and stuff and delivery because you want uniformity. But this whole thing of saying, school heads are eating money, but you're not taking action on it. You've
Mama
only
Ngina
said,
Girls High
let
School.
people go and buy uniform from shops. But
You know-
you're still saying, let them go and buy blankets and handkerchiefs and all those things from shops. You haven't helped.
But this is not actually just in education. We had a relative who had gone for treatment in hospital, and so surgery and everything. And you show up with your bucket, soap, all these things. But you arrive and you're told you have to purchase from the hospital.
From the hospital.
All of the things you've come with.
For
including
admission.
toilet
Be
paper.
treated in the
Yes.
hospital.
Yes. So there's
So
something
for
deeper
admission-
here. Yes, you come with your stuff, but we are selling.
We have buckets here which
Yes.
are non-carcinogenic.
And toilet paper. And it speaks to a bigger issue outside of,
That's a big one.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
there is a lot of stuff going
That's
on.
a big one. That's a big one. There's the story in the Standard is actually also talking about parents complaining of lunch levies. While capitation ought to ease the pressure off the parents, day secondary schools are imposing charges of between 12 and 15,000 shillings per term for lunch.
12 to 15,000.
Per term, lunch. Okay, Sawa, you come, day secondary is free. But then, lunch, you have to pay. Chavakali principal Edward Wachilonga said the school will cater for some uniform. Okay, so there's a story here of a boy called Wesley Owen who reported to Chavakali High School with only several required items in his box, but no school fees. The principal said the school will cater for the school uniform, but urged any well-wisher to come in and help to pay the 14-year-old tuition fee. He is expected to raise 53,000 shillings tuition fee annually. I thought school there's capitation and all those things.
You thought
Hey.
wrong.
This all looks so discombobulated.
It's-
I just don't understand why it's such a peril to go to school. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
It is our single largest budget item as a country.
Yes.
It is.
It's the single largest ring-fenced budget item in the CDF. It goes from counties. All this money goes to schools. But people still pay off pocket this amount of money. This is too much. Let's take a break. 25 minutes to 7. Time for us to take that traffic break and see what's happening on the roads, and then we come back. Sophia Wanuna is our guest host today. CT Muga is our guest today. He'll be back next week.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler?
Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
And just like that, we're in traffic hour early on a Tuesday, but it's heavy coming off of the Thika Superhighway, well into the city, back-to-back traffic all the way through towards that Outer Ring Junction. It hasn't quite started, well, that's not true. It started on that Kiambu Road as well, and it's getting heavy inbound as you get towards Muthaiga Square. It's busy on Juja Road this morning, just past that Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital Junction, and then out and touching on Outer Ring. Also looking at it, heavy on Kangunda Road. Well, there it is. Heavy on Kangunda Road and then out towards Komarok Road this morning. The Eastern Bypass looking pretty good. That issue has come to an end. The Southern Bypass also looking good as well. Langata Road, we will see a pileup. It's already building on Gitanga Road, coming off Naivasha Road this morning, and it's going to continue for some time. Again, traffic hour starts about an hour earlier. More vehicles on the road. Stay safe, folks. Let us know what's going on where you are. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
22 to 7. Sophia, what are you looking at?
What am I looking at? Drought-stricken families marry off their girls to replenish livestock.
What?
That's on page 15 of the Standard today. And one of the things that we have seen even from the governors from the northern counties talking about and calling for President William Ruto to classify this drought now as a national disaster.
Are they not aware that it was done that by Uhuru Kenyatta 3 years ago?
Now, when
national disasters have sell-by dates.
do they... At some point,
it has an expiry. Once you declare national disaster, it cannot last forever. It's just a year.
Yeah, but selling off
girls so you can go and buy livestock.
That's your family. That's a human being.
Where is this taking place?
Mary was barely 7, is a story here we're told. 7 years old when she was subjected to FGM. Now, 7 years later, the Form 2 student in Marsabit town is traumatized with the experience still fresh in her mind. She says, if I were in a position to make a decision, I wouldn't have been caught. That's part of what this story is talking about. And there's a lot of information there around FGM and the number of girls that are affected. In fact, 4.3 million of girls at risk of undergoing FGM, according to United Nations Population Fund.
I found the part of the story. So
yeah, I'm trying to get to the part
The second column, the Standard team witnessed the dire situation
Yes, there
that's
we
putting
go.
hundreds of locals on the brink of starvation. For example, this livestock in the market, the price of a goat has drastically dropped from 6,000 to 3,000 bob, and a mature cow
300.
to 300 bob. Yes, a mature cow from 60,000 shillings to 1,000 bob. A mature cow is selling for 1,000 bob at
Sure.
the Marsabit airstrip.
That's insane.
Jeremy Ledanyi, Tourism, Culture and Gender and Social Services Executive in Marsabit, says the effects of the drought have also interrupted the school feeding program. Households are vulnerable. They can't afford food and school fees for their children, the same children they can easily exchange for bride price. He says schools have been affected in enrollment, with Milima Mitatu Primary School in Marsabit Central only 148 learners reporting back to school. Out of the 22 learners who sat for their grade 6, only 7 have transitioned to junior secondary. Among them, only one girl. 22 did grade 6. 7 have joined grade 7.
Transitioned.
1 girl. The school head teacher, Lucy Absalem,
Marsabit.
Lucy Abelem, said it's feared that a number of girls risk dropping out of school, undergoing the cut, and opting for early marriage. School is a safe haven for learners, but I do not know the whereabouts of those who have not reported. I fear that if we do not follow up on them, they'll never live to attain a productive life. This is what's happening in Kenya.
I was asking, which country is this?
Kenya.
This one?
This one of ours.
Okay.
Mm.
The same Kenya.
Same Kenya. Same Kenya. The president of Kenya is William Ruto.
Okay.
Okay. The Minister for Agriculture is Bedeka Linturi. The CS in charge of this region, the Asal region, is, what's her name? The former Kenyan boss.
Miano.
Yeah, Rebecca Miano. And so on and so
In
forth
Kenya.
in this country. But we are talking about tax. Yeah.
Who didn't do what?
Who didn't do what?
Whose father and
Didn't-
mother didn't
didn't
do.
own-
That is our focus. In fact, writing to the National Treasury and saying, since 2018,
Show us.
can you tell us who's not been paying tax? That is the job that Parliament is doing.
Priority
As though
one.
there, I can't. I really, I can't. And I've been singing this song. What is it that needs to happen before some kind of attention is paid to what is priority?
Exactly.
In the same country, that's what I was asking. Maybe it's another country and somebody made a mistake. Mercy Kaenda, maybe
Maybe
said,
she crossed over into
"Eh,
Ethiopia and she
was
thought she's
somewhere
still
else."
She's still in
in
Kenya.
Kenya. Yeah.
But it's Kenya,
This is this country.
where parents are selling off their daughters, because that's what it is. Let's not
Yeah.
call it anything else.
Yep.
They're selling off their daughters because that's it. You give your daughter in marriage, somebody's going to give you money, and then you're going to go and buy livestock.
Yeah.
Yep. Number one, it's a mouth less in your household. Okay? So you're looking at, okay, so how do I balance this? So this girl, because she's gone through FGM, because she's gotten to that age, at least now she can go. So you marry her off. And then that person gives you money. If a cow has dropped from 60,000 shillings to 1,000 bob,
1,000
how much
bob.
do you even think that bride price
Who
is?
is going to be? How much are you giving for your? How much is
Let's even
for
say,
your
give me
daughter?
4 cows. That's 4K.
That's for your daughter.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
And this drought, so this cow will probably die.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It comes probably sickly already.
Yeah.
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 So
That's what I mean. Now, you know, this is the thing. You know, we talked about this state of emergency. You know, we take it like a joke. When something by a president, at least according to the Kenyan constitution, when something is declared an emergency,
yeah.
it now gives the president the leeway to do certain things. When it is declared a national disaster, essentially what it does, it now gives president mandate to give an order to unlock funds for
Yeah.
this to be done. So it basically says, stop. Whatever is
Everything
going
else, rally all the resources.
on, bring all the resources and let
Bring
us
it all
save
here.
this. That's why you hear people saying, please declare this thing a national disaster. Please do that. So that we can have this stopping of all this other nonsense and bring in money to save people. You're not saving, you're saving people.
Yep.
You're saving people from dying. You're saving daughters from being sold off like cattle. That's what you're doing. But what is it going
Children
to take to realize this?
need to enroll to report back to school.
Hey, man.
You see what the headmistress here is saying? that schools in this region are actually a safe haven. All right? Now, you should be expecting that the Ministry of Education will be getting all the resources so that this safe haven can be attractive to even communities to take their children there. Knowing that if I take my child to this particular place, this child is safe, this child is sleeping, this child is eating. But they are not.
That's not the priority.
Can you imagine they're being begged to open schools?
Yeah.
Please open schools. And what does that mean for you to open school? Deliver the necessary funding to do it.
Schools are open, but there's nothing. Schools are here. It's open season. Children are supposed to report to grade 7. Come to grade 7. But
where
then,
are they going?
yeah.
How are they going?
What kind of support is the government giving
How are they
to
going?
make sure that these children actually go back to school?
But the
what
whole
conversation
country-
are we having
The whole
around
country
this?
has been embroiled in this tornado of absolute nonsense.
Yeah. And one would have thought that with devolution, they said what, resources closer to the people, power closer to the people. But do these folks in Marsabit and other parts that are going through this kind of suffering and situations feel and know that government is there to serve them and that things have gotten better because there is this structure that allows for their cries to be heard, their situations to be dealt with? Clearly, everybody's eyes is still at the center because the county governors, they're all saying, Mr. President, Mr. President.
yeah.
So then how was this thing supposed to work in the first place? We are seeing them clash over revenue share. Don't have enough money, bring us more money. We're not able to do this. In fact, they were saying, declare this a national disaster so that we can get funding from the donor communities.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's annoying. What is happening in the leadership of Parliament is the Kenya Kwanza administration has embarked on a mission to identify individuals and companies that have been exempted from paying taxes since 2018. The majority leader in the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, has sent a letter to Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u seeking a list of individuals and companies that have received tax exemptions. Addressing a press conference in Nairobi, Ichung'wah specifically requested information since January 2018, accusing some officials in the previous administration of using their positions to grant tax waivers to their families. Okay. All right. Is a justification here that, the reason why we don't have money to go and support our people in Marsabit
It's because
some people did not pay tax.
since 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they pay tax, then we'll sort out this issue. Because if 1 plus 1 equals 2,
We'll be all
for
good.
crying out loud.
Come on. This man is the leader of government business, is the leader of business in the National Assembly. All right? He's in the leadership of the National Assembly. If the leadership of the National Assembly is taking us this direction, supplementary budget is coming. Is it looking at how much money is going to feed people who are starving? Is it looking at those kind of things? If it's not, then what on earth are we doing as a country? We are losing it. The other side, they are wearing uniforms. Now they've gone to Gikomba, they've shown at uniforms and berets. They have come up with a new
Or
thing,
some
they're
high
drumming
school.
things.
Yep, it's the movement for defense of democracy.
You said they went to it.
They want to Gikomba. Pima Uyu.
No, true, it's not funny.
I mean, think about, these are the people that you expect. So those ones, at least, should be, because they've been elected as well to Parliament and they have gotten serious vote and affirmation from Kenyans. You'd expect that they are the ones who keep reminding the government, focus,
Should be beating this
priority.
focus. This is the focus.
Yeah, that's not in Kenya area.
Even when they're trying to do the focus, it is what Jeremiah Kioni is doing, going around
beating the pan.
Ding, ding, ding.
beating plates. Hakura Shakura. Kenya si Uhuru Baru.
No.
This is a comical
Tragic comedy.
Where?
Is this a
What is this?
comedy?
Yeah, it's a tragic comedy.
What? Yeah, that's what living in this country feels like many times.
Let's just tell us. Do you have a happy story?
I don't know. Okay, let me
Sophia,
tell you
look
about
for
this.
a happy story.
There's nothing. People are waiting for fertilizer, how to deal with multiple pregnancies. Nothing, man.
Okay, let me tell you another sad story.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
So, Professor Kithure Kindiki is a CS for what?
Interior.
He's in charge of what? Security.
Security.
He was marking 100 days in office yesterday, and he was saying, what we've done quite a bit. We're addressing issues, and we're
Cleared backlog.
Meanwhile, in Baringo yesterday, a family was attacked by cattle raiders. Someone was killed. Somebody's livestock driven away. Someone was saying that cows and goats and sheep were just driven away by raiders who came properly and heavily armed. And they shot someone who died. This person who died is somebody's son, is somebody's husband, and several children's father. Okay? In Nairobi, Kithure Kindiki was saying, we are on top of things. We are not, nasio tafadhali, banditry shall end in this country. We shall not surrender this country to criminal elements.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, nice. Boom.
Lip service.
One has to ask the question, is the security situation in certain parts of the country, the rift going out to the valley, is it lost?
Are they children of a lesser god?
Yeah, is it lost?
As it
As in,
were.
Has the government lost the fight?
Have they lost the fight? It's over. As in, there's nothing that can be done. We're talking about decades of this same story. It doesn't matter whether it's Professor Kindiki today or who it was last time, Professor Matiang'i before him, and before. This conversation...
Same.
Same. So
Tough talking, Nairobi.
It's good to just look at something and
admit face the reality.
And face the reality.
And that was a question put to him when he was being interviewed, the vetting to become CS Interior. And he was told, this has been going on for decades, year in, year out, or we hear staff talk, pronouncements, we're going to end this. And he said, when we get in there, we will sort it out. But as you're saying, what is different? It's we haven't seen a different approach. We haven't seen something that speaks to, okay, now we are getting this. We see them clad in those military fatigues, visiting these regions, press conferences, engagements, and all of that. But then after that, more deaths, more livestock, cattle stolen. So
the latest push is now, let's arm the people again. Let's have the police reservists. So NPR have been recruited and have been armed, and they're being trained. Sawa. What else is happening? They've said we're adding more security personnel on the ground. How many new police stations have actually been established in these regions? How many more police officers have actually been deployed to this region? How many extra patrols? How many helicopters? How many vehicles have actually gone into this region? Without that kind of direct visibility of what's happening on the ground, everything else just becomes talk. Because arming police reservists and then you don't support them with everything else just arms communities to fight one another. And that's what the locals keep saying. You arm the Pokot, you arm the Samburu, you arm the Turkana, you arm... What's happening is that you're just basically arming people. Now we'll just come and kill each other nicely.
Properly.
Because we have government-issued firearms.
Yep, bloodbath.
Would it make a difference? I remember MP... can't remember. He told us that what would help...
Nanok or Kosing?
Kosing.
Yeah.
Told us that we should have every kilometer some kind of security presence and would make a difference. That if these guys, you're walking and you see that there's some, you're likely to
there's a police post every kilometer here. There's a police.
You're likely to behave yourself, and that is what needs to happen. But that there has been intentional ignorance of that, and nobody's willing to put people out there. But honestly, I'm at that point whereby, you know what? Maybe it even be some kind of reverse psychology. Just say this one, we can't. Instead of pretending as though you can. And here we have innocent parents with their children, again, being snuffed out by this thing.
Yeah.
And I keep saying the business of conflict is not cheap. These people who can't afford a meal sometimes, there's no way they're buying an AK-47 rifle for themselves. Upwards of 50,000, 60,000 shillings.
Yeah.
The business of conflict is not cheap. either there's somebody fueling it, or the government has
Cannot handle it.
can't handle it.
Just the other day, on the 28th of January this year, the Minister for Interior declared the insecurity in the North Rift an existential crisis, an existential threat to the country. He said the government will intensify efforts to end decades of crime-related disruption to schooling in the North Rift. We have visited one of the schools where normalcy is gradually returning. I want to assure you that all other schools affected will be reopened without exception, and they'll never be closed again. That's what he said. Kithure Kindiki. The government has declared banditry an existential threat to our country's future. We are going to move in and apply every human resource and weapon we have. We will get out all the armory. We will go by land. We will go by air. We will follow the... I was about to say we'll go by sea. We'll follow them to wherever they go. And we are going to smoke them out of their caves and their forests. This was 28th of January, just about 9 days ago.
Who was saying this?
Professor Kithure Kindiki,
Interior.
the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government.
And by the way, he had said, when he was asked by MPs again during the vetting, what if all of these things you're saying don't work? He says, even if it means I go live there,
I will live
I
there.
will live there. That's
It
what we're
seems
waiting
like
for.
It's about time he occupies a cave.
Is there a real estate guy who can hook him up with a cave? Because he's about to move in.
Yep.
It's about to happen.
That's the only one we've not seen done yet. The tough
Sure.
talk we have heard
Yes.
many times before. No stone will be left
Unturned.
unturned.
This one now, he's going to live there.
Yeah. Existential threat to this country's future. Okay? As he's saying that, somebody has still lost a father.
Thank you.
Yep.
I mean,
That's the bottom line.
children cannot
Yep.
go to school,
Yep.
cannot walk from here to there to
Yep.
school.
Yep.
People who are trying to sell their wares in market cannot go from their houses. You're afraid that somebody's going to burn down your house at night. People are sitting up awake. Again, this is Kenya. On one side of the country where people are selling their daughters so that they can get livestock, so people can eat. On the other side, people are sitting up all night for fear that somebody's going to either come and raid your cattle, burn down your house, or worse still,
Kill you.
Kill you.
It's sad. I think let's end there with this sad news from Turkey and Syria. Turkish authorities confirmed the deaths of 2,921 people after its southeastern region bordering Syria was rocked by major earthquakes. A further 1,444 people are confirmed to have died in Syria. So 2921 in Turkey, 1444 in Syria. The initial magnitude 7.8 tremor early on Monday brought down buildings as people slept and was followed by a magnitude 7.6 earthquake hours later and several other aftershocks. As in, this was just horror.
That's horrific.
Horror. So many aftershocks and tremors that are above 5. It's really, really one of those things that you just look at and you're like, okay, it is sad. Now, the latest is that the Turkish Relief Agency says the death toll from Monday's earthquake has climbed to 2,900. The two quakes were followed by 243 aftershocks. 243 aftershocks. As in, quake, another quake, and then where the building was standing, it's...
But did you see the horrible video that we saw? People are walking in the city, and as a result of one of those aftershocks, a building is standing.
Just
2
And then
seconds
just comes
later,
down.
crumbling down.
Imagine. So as you're trying to think of rescuing, of going to get people under the rubble, there is still more collapse happening. It is so
They're saying there
sad.
may be still 200 people under the rubble.
Imagine.
And that number, with all this happening, may rise.
In just one day, 5,000 people
Died.
Gone.
like that. And you can imagine the kind of devastation, the buildings that have been demolished, the livelihoods gone, even those that survive.
Yeah.
To pick themselves up is going to be a long shot. And then one of these countries is Syria, which itself
Is in the doldrums.
Yeah.
I mean,
has not been a country for a long time.
Yeah.
It is such an unfortunate thing. Anyway, keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We want to learn about tax and how we can all avoid paying tax, if possible. We'll have a tax expert joining us. Sophia Wanuna is our guest host today. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has cautioned Azimio leader Raila Odinga about the meetings it plans to hold every Sunday. Speaking at Harambee House, Kindiki asked Raila not to disrupt any businesses or violate the law, or he'll face the full force of the law.
I have no business with those who are doing demonstrations. Actually, I don't care, on one condition, that they keep law and order. The day they would try to break the law, the day they will try to breach peace, to incite public disorder, that is the day the full weight of the Ministry of Interior will come on them. They can do rallies, they can do even picketing, they can demonstrate, so long as fast they don't disrupt businesses, they don't force people who are not aligned to them to listen to them by force.
Kindiki further reiterated President William Ruto's remarks on how his government won't use police officers for political gains. He also warned politicians who are allegedly sponsoring cattle rustling.
Therefore, if any leader of whatever political formation is implicated in hurting our country for political reasons or commercial reasons or whatever reasons, I have made it clear in my consultations with them that we will be ruthless with them. We will deal with them without mercy, whether they are opposition politicians, whether they are government politicians.
And Form 1 admissions continue today across the country as students report to school for first term. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu said the government has disbursed 16 billion shillings to secondary schools, warning school heads from sending students home over lack of fees or requirements.
The number that has been able to transition from primary to secondary school is 1,268,000, because we are talking of 100% transition. And we are asking the parents that no child should be able to remain at home, that he or she has not been able to get admission in one of our secondary schools, because we have now vacancies such that each and every pupil who did his KCPE should be able to get a place.
Machogu further added that the ministry is waiting for a report from junior secondary schools in order to disburse funds. He said that accounts for primary and junior secondary students should be separated.
We have said that out of that money which goes to junior secondary school, they should be able to establish bank accounts, because we don't want a mix-up. The money for primary, because the principal is going to be one, the head teacher is going to be one, and the board of management for those particular schools, there should be an account for primary school, and there should also be accounts for junior secondary, so that even when they are expending this money, it should be expended separately.
And burial preparations of former Education CS George Magoha are at 80%, with his burial set for Saturday at his Siaya home. Siaya Governor James Orengo, who visited his village home, eulogized Magoha as a hero not only nationally but internationally. Orengo says the county will assist in ensuring all plans are complete before the burial.
Siaya as a county, Kenya as a nation, and Africa as a continent has lost a great son. And we say Africa because the widow comes from Nigeria, but he also served in Nigeria in the university, and part of his education was in Nigeria. As a county government of Siaya, we have a role to play, and we'll ensure through our officers and also through Mheshimiwa Kinyanyi, who is a member of the county assembly for this area, that all that needs to be done is done before the burial on Saturday the 11th.
Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi described Magoha as a leader who was committed to exam credibility.
He was a colossus, he was a giant in the academic space. He took up his role with a lot of gusto. He was very resolute. If he believed that what he was pursuing was right, he would pursue it with a lot of passion and enthusiasm. Education is really the foundation of any nation. And when you have people who can pursue our education matters with zeal, then it is good for our country, it's good for our children. We can only say that we pray that God gives us more individuals individuals, men and women, who can pursue education matters for our country with the same kind of energy Professor Magoha did.
Across the borders, and thousands of people demonstrated in Goma, the commercial hub in eastern DR Congo, to protest the perceived inaction of an East African military force against the M23 rebel insurgency. The M23, a Tutsi-led group, has captured large sites of territory in the North Kivu province, recently coming to within a few miles of Goma and its 1 million residents. To aid the Democratic Republic of Congo's authorities, leaders of the Seven Nations East Africa Community approved the deployment of a military force to combat the rebels, with the first troops arriving in Goma last November. But the initial hopes of many Congolese have been frustrated as M23 fighters have continued their advance. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after, 7 o'clock? And we started traffic hour some time ago. It's still heavy on the Thika Superhighway, much heavier than it was earlier. We're looking at Safari Park Hotel. Beyond that, heading out towards all the way through to the Pangani underpass, there's traffic and it's moving very slowly. It's bumper to bumper on Kiambu Road as well. Coming into the city and then looking at what's going on in Westlands, coming off Wayaki Way, heavy traffic. James Gishoro, in and outbound traffic, and also on Ring Road, Westlands. All this coming in from Gitanga Road, Naivasha Road, Gong Road. Gong Road also leading into the city and connecting with Haile Selassie, which comes off Jogo Road and connects with Landis and then in towards the Kamkunji roundabout. So that is busy there. The eastern part of the city also taking a hit with traffic, and it looks like it'll be this way for some time. Imara Daima and Mombasa Road going out towards General Motors doesn't look too bad. It's moving slowly in some parts, but you'll be all right on most of Mombasa Road until you get to the Nyayo National Stadium. Then it's going to slow down just a tad. SpiceFM KE, what's going on where you are? Talk to us there and let's see how we can keep things moving this Tuesday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only way.
7 on the 7th day of February 2023. Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home. Live streaming as well on YouTube. SpiceFM KE is our YouTube channel. And on Facebook, our page is SpiceFM KE as well. So a lot is happening in the country. Ishongwa targets firms granted tax waiver. Tax wars escalate as the MP orders the Treasury for records. The whole issue of estate duty tax. Does it exist? Which estate are we talking about? Are we talking about Nairobi estates? Pangani? What about tax? What exactly does it mean? This is what we want to have a discussion over. And mostly just to learn and understand taxation and the various tax laws in the country. Joining us is James Karanja. He's a tax director at Anjarwala and Kana Law Firm. We welcome him with the day's proverb. This one is from Malawi. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Our guest host this morning is Sophia Wanuna, and she was like, this one is a very easy and direct proverb. James, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be here, Eric, Nduko, and Sophia.
Good to have you again. Karibu sana.
Awesome.
She's Ndu Oko, but we like Nduko. This proverb from Malawi,
Right.
what do you make of it? Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day.
Well, it just says, I think it speaks to the value of what it means. Kindness. This is the values, real values that we have that you cannot put a price to. So gold you can repay, but kindness, just like all moral intrinsic values that we have, things we really ought to cherish beyond anything that money can buy.
It's the same thing Sophia had said.
In essence.
It's the same thing. Speak the same language.
Awesome.
James, you are an expert on tax matters, on international tax, on local tax. You've worked for the Kenya Revenue Authority previously. You've worked for the OECD, the Organization for Economic
Cooperation and Development.
Yeah. And this is the other framework that then works with the OECD countries, right? You are currently a tax director at one of the big law firms in this country. So tax, you and tax, same was up. The rest of us don't get it.
All right.
Let's start with this whole issue of estate duty tax. What does it mean? And right off the bat, is that law still in existence in this country? And does it exempt anybody?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Eric, and for the team here. I think first, just to make the point clear, we see there's a lot of political heat going on right now about tax. And just to make it clear that Anjarwala and Kana, a great firm I work for, great African law firm, is apolitical. We cherish or pride ourselves in being a great African firm with a network across 16 African countries. And so we are apolitical, but it is really important for us, I think, to have this debate about what taxation and what does this mean for us. I think as a young democracy, we see the need for us, yes, to continue to have thriving debates and no more important debate than the one on taxation. So I think if we can get the public talking on these issues, I think this is really exciting. So estate tax was a tax that's not just Kenyan, but this is something that's globally the view about inheritance tax, that anytime money is passing from one generation to another, that there is an amount of tax that is paid because you've received money that was not yours in the first place. So think about it. When you receive an income from your employer, some government wants to collect some tax. When you receive your pension, say at the end of your time here at KTN and the Standard Group, government then will collect some amount as it crosses over to you. So estate tax was just one of those taxes that exists, which is focused on inheritance. Does it exist currently? We know that the act was abolished. I think we're all very clear on that, and that it no longer applies.
At all?
No longer applies at all. Okay. This is not a tax that is, you are only taxed according to law. And if you do not have a tax law that says your income should be taxed in this way or that way, then that ceases to be something that can be brought sort of into the scope. Yes.
So with the way things currently stand, is there a tax law? What does it say? And then who then is guided by it in Kenya today?
There is a tax law, and that tax law is in several statutes. You have the Income Tax Act, you have the Customs, the East African Community Customs Management Act, you have the VAT Act, you have the Excise Act, the Stamp Duty Act. So there's several acts that all seek to bring some element of revenue into being, and only according to that law can your income or can your transaction,
can your money be taxed,
can be collected. Yes.
So there is no estate duty tax?
Yeah, so we're all clear.
No, we are not. That's why we're asking.
Because the thing, you have a member of parliament moving and writing to the clerk of the Senate, proposing to have Section 7, subsection 3 of the Estate Duty Act, which apparently exempts the 2 former first families from paying taxes, deleted.
Right.
So from where you sit, this is...
Yeah, I think without going, I think if we stick to the facts,
it does not exist.
The act was abolished, and I think it is clear if we, it is important now. And I noticed there was also another member of the House who then goes ahead to say that they're actually not looking to reintroduce it. So there is an implicit acknowledgement that act is not in place. But what I'd really want us to have a discussion around today is now is the time, I think, as a country, as a people, when the government is talking about the need to mobilize tax, to expand, to broaden our tax base, to put all these things on the table and say, which of these taxes should apply. Is this time for us to relook at this? Is this a viable tax? Is this a viable opportunity? Are our taxes progressive or regressive? Often the idea of an inheritance tax tends to hit on, obviously, the people, those who are men of straw have very little to pass on to their children, but it is the question of the bigger the richer families, and when they pass that down to their children, that then this becomes an issue. So I think if we have a broader discussion, which is what I hope we will do today, to say, look, what can we do? We all acknowledge the country's in a lot of debt. We all acknowledge there's huge demands for revenue. So I'd really, if we could focus on what are some of those things that we could do to generate revenue for the country.
Okay. So then that second bit, we are actually discussing that, balancing the politics versus the reality of things. The second bit, if we are clear now, according to you, that this law, the tax law, the estate duty tax was actually abolished a long time ago, and therefore it hasn't even been applying for a while.
Correct.
Are there avenues through which some people do not pay tax legally?
Correct. And to talk a little bit even about the history of that act and the reality, our common law reality, is that the law would exempt the sovereign, meaning, so in the English law, the queen or the king was not expected to pay tax. When the Bible, Jesus says, pay unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. So the question is,
was Caesar paying?
Yes, was Caesar whose face was on the coin? So if Caesar's face is on the coin, so the idea that he would be putting money to himself. So this thing sort of carried through into the common law, and so the sovereign, the queen, was exempted generally from any payment of tax, and this is still a reality today. In a lot of our statutes. The East African Community Management Act says, goods coming in for the president should not be taxed. The Income Tax Act says his emoluments, his salary, his allowances should not be taxed.
Sitting president.
The sitting president. This is the Constitution. This is within the Income Tax Act. So you have various acts. The VAT Act now does not recognize. In the past, it did have such a recognition, not anymore. And I've seen the discussion going on with proposals, even recommendations being made that maybe a lot of these exemptions need to go away, a lot of these waivers, so that we think broader on how we can mobilize revenue. And this is a discussion I think we should have today. The question of tax expenditures, a tax incentive, a tax exemption, all these things are offered in the statute for a purpose. That one on the sovereign, I've told you that yes, the law does make exemptions for certain people. You and I get a relief every year, whether it's for insurance or for personal relief. And then you have even our members of parliament, there's an act there that says, their allowances should not be taxed. So if we're going to have a conversation around what needs to be brought into tax, I think it's really important for us not just to let the politicians do this alone, but I think tax professionals, a lot of broader public engagement needs to take place about where do we need to go. And right now, Eric, this is a great opportunity because currently government is looking at the national tax policy, and this policy talks through all the different acts. What should happen? What do we want? Do we want just a source-based system or a resident system? Should I just be taxed on my Kenyan income, on my global income? What should our laws say about who is entatled to an incentive, who is not? Because an incentive in itself is a way when government forgoes collecting revenue from you, they're doing it so that they assist you to do certain things. They will give you a relief because, say, for instance, you are taking out insurance because that is encouraging savings. If they give you a certain incentive because you have put up a factory and that factory is going to create jobs, so a tax expenditure should not be looked at in a void.
Yeah.
These expenditures are there for a purpose. They're there that the tax law should motivate certain behavior, whether positive, in the case of incentives, or like an excise duty, which is there to say, look, could you smoke less? Or if you smoke, or you drink, there are other sort of costs social costs.
To discourage you from.
Exactly. Or to, in the process, that some of the money they will collect from that will also help them to put back to address some of the externalities that are caused by these behaviors.
Can we take a couple steps back here? Sure. I mean, the assumption is that we all understand the reasons as to why a government would levy tax upon individuals or businesses. What was the original intent of tax? And even as we see this then, practiced through difference. So there's individual taxes, how much you pay on your income. There's businesses, how much you must pay then in order for the business to run, and then on the money that you make, you're paying some to the government. What was the original intention of taxes levied then on individuals and businesses?
Yeah, so the history of taxation, I think, goes back to a time when we all recognize we have to have leadership. You have a monarch, or you have the village head, whoever. And there's the idea that leadership or to operate as a state, you must then be able to provide public goods. In that case, when tax first came in, it was countries needed to go to war. A government perhaps or a leader might say, look, as a government, maybe they're going to put money, they're going to create business through which they make money. But for most governments, think about it, the only real source of money to do anything, to pay their salaries, to provide security, to provide infrastructure, is this one source. So government must continually always think about what it is they can do to maximize revenue, because even if they say they start to borrow, where are you going to pay that money from? So the big push, of which I was part of as a career employee back then, was to think about the idea of economic sovereignty. You are not a country, you are not stable if you do not have your own source of revenue. If you sit back as a country and all you do is wait for donor money, the reality, that donor money is taxpayers' money from another jurisdiction, which will come with its own agenda. So for us to be kujitegemea is the idea that as a nation, we must be proud that we are able to contribute towards the coffers for our own good.
And the thing what has been interesting is, in terms of from where you sit, that you have those informal employment, that they are the ones that bear the brunt, carrying the heavy load in as far as taxation is concerned. And yet the vast majority are in the informal sector. When a government then is intent and keen on raising this revenue, but there's the debate that let the wealthy pay more. They have the money. But can that cover for this other vast majority? And how does it then, as an administration, perhaps would it reconcile itself to still get from those that are not covered in tax collection?
Yeah, you raise an interesting point, Sophia, that we have a big push between those who are in formal sector, who seem to be like a very easy target. You and I sitting collecting a salary, it seems like the easiest way to go. There is the other side, obviously, of indirect taxation, which is every time we buy a loaf of bread, we buy a soda, we buy milk, we go into the petrol station, is that we are constantly getting taxed.
Yeah.
So it is actually a very, very broad discussion around government looking at multiple sources. And the big thing here, I think, is the burden. Is the burden being shared fairly? Is the burden being shared fairly? When you think about it, you and I will pay the same amount that amount of tax, say VAT, excise, on a commodity like bread, like milk, or like sugar. You're going to pay the same amount of tax that the person who is earning 5,000 is paying. You're paying the exact same amount of tax. Now, that's a scenario where clearly that is regressive. It means a lot of the people who are the lower income bracket spend a lot more of their money as a percentage on taxation than those who are wealthier. So a progressive tax system would say, for instance, that those who are running 10 million, 20 million should be paying a significantly higher proportion of tax than those who are earning 300,000, 100,000. But the reality now, as our tax policy is currently, or our tax law, is that the top tax bracket hits people who are earning very low incomes. From as low as about 30, 40,000 shillings, you're already at the top tax bracket.
Yeah.
Now, I lived in France where at a certain, seeing what the law there was, that past a certain portion of income, you actually had a very high top tax bracket of about 45%. Now, that means if you've crossed sort of some threshold, why should we not be saying that those who are wealthy should then be bearing also a bigger portion? Now, the wealth tax is one of those areas where this is dealt with, maybe some excess tax for people like those. A death tax or the estate tax was meant to sort of balance back that as you transfer money from wealthy people, that at least there is some redistribution. So there are real questions or discussion we must have as a country as to how we rebalance our tax so that the wealthier people who seem to be managing their tax affairs in a way that they pay less, would be brought into the tax net and also pay their fair share in equitable terms, not in like equal terms.
Do you feel that there's an and just look, talking about the different things that you've segmented into today, looking at Kenya today, and I can hear all the backing right now at the moment, which, okay, let's put that aside for a moment. I know what I think, and many have said, but do you think that there is an overburden that has been put on the responsibility of this tax for the development of the nation? From where you sit, is it possible to develop a nation from this myriad of taxes that we see being levied?
We have no choice. We have no choice. Tax, government must continue to look at ways to tax, must look at where there are tax leakages, must think carefully about where, which sector of the economy is bound to be affected. Obviously, you want to be careful that you don't tax people out of existence. You don't want to tax business to the point where it makes no more sense to continue to make those efforts. So we must recognize effort, we must encourage effort, but there is just no other way for government to move, to pay its debts, to pay its workers without this tax. So I think...
But it's not worked. Let's be honest. That it has not worked. That this heavy taxation that we see cannot be given the sole responsibility for Kenya having come from point A to point B. There are certain things that have been done. Salaries have been paid, but in terms of development index and the notches that Kenya has attained, can we say that the funding that has come from taxes is responsible for that development? And many would argue that if you're going to be, you have to make.
Yes.
If you're going to develop, you must produce your own.
Exactly.
So it's not going to come from taxes.
Yes. No, you raise a very valid point. First, just get this clear, even just for me as a career taxman, I think to be hitting a 3 trillion budget as a country, it's just staggering. It's to think where we were 10, 20 years ago. So that in itself is significant. And let's give credit where it's due. This is an economy that's been extremely resilient, and that on the back of businesses who clearly have to be the ones that generate commerce through which a tax administration then collects resources. So hats off to the working public. Hats off to all of us who make that effort every day to grow our economy, to trade, to export, whether it's goods or services. So clearly the people and what they do are the backbone of the fact that then a tax administration comes on the back of that, will collect revenue. But I want to say something else, and this question is so important. There is a completely different side of this that we need to be conscious of. And this is when we talk about domestic resource mobilization, we need to be aware as a country that there are several other sources of money that are coming in. And one really, really exciting source now is private equity. Global private equity is a huge, huge market. If you see now your huge malls, if you see your art cafes, your Javas, this big local multinational enterprises, hospitals, large hospitals that are now coming up through funding that is not from the state coffers, but from private equity that is looking in to build for opportunities to grow their investments, and that money is actually coming in, and it is causing our economy to also thrive. We know our diaspora is a huge source of the money that is also coming in. So it's a complex discussion, I think, Duoko. To say that tax is the only source, I think would be cutting it short. But we really still must focus on, now that this discussion is on, this debate is on, as a public, let us also have this discussion to say, hey, wait, can we look at some of the areas where tax has been leaking? Have we been adopting or our incentives, our waiver regime appropriately, and where should it be directed? Because tax is also a way to motivate behavior, whether positively or negatively. The state says if you build out of Nairobi, if you build in certain municipalities, you pay less tax. If you put your company in the stock exchange, we'll give you less. It is really, for government, this is their tool to move people towards a certain direction.
But then the question that Ndu is asking, all this money that the few people are paying heavily for, is it justified? And can we say that this is the way to go? This is because the conversation now and all the signals are that the taxes that we're paying currently are going to be increased in one way or another. There's a new tax that's going to be introduced here and there, and not widening the tax base, but still targeting those that are informal sectors.
And to add to that, Eric, is that the elephant still in the room is that, yes, figure out where the tax leakage is, where are you losing all of this revenue that could be coming into this, bucket. But if it has all of these holes down, it doesn't matter how much water we keep pouring, everyone is bringing in, for as long as there's also not a clear strategy and focus on how some of these public funds are being looted, who are these people stealing all of this money, then we can collect as much as we want, but we keep losing it, and then where does that leave us as a people?
Yeah, so two sides to this. One is on the revenue generation, two is on the utilization. So I think first to take us first to how we generate the funds, all I think I'd really like to put before our listening audience today is that I think as a country with professionals in some of the tax professionals in some of the leading global institutions. We have Kenyans in the IMF. We have Kenyans in the OECD, like I was among the first Africans to be there. We have Kenyans in the UN. And there's a running joke out there that, do you have your Kenyan, in Geneva, and we have great intellectual capacity, which if as a country we're going to say, please, we're going to put our leading minds to think through carefully our policy, our tax policy, so that it is one that meets the needs of a 21st century, a growing economy, an emerging economy that needs to create opportunities for vast population. Think about all the big four. You need housing, you need a manufacturing sector to grow. All these things, one has to, I think, put tax professionals in the discussion, leading the discussion around where we should go. Now, on the expenditure side, clearly, huge leakages everywhere. And I was with judges in a recent forum where they were pointing out there's about 400 billion locked in the court system, disputes that are just unresolved. Now, is it something, that government says, look, we are creating a special court, we are creating a system for faster resolution of this dispute so that people determine what it is they can pay. And so we hear clearly some positive sounds to say, could taxpayers negotiate? But yes, we need to unlock all these disputes, because why? Even for companies or people who are doing business, they are not served by the fact that they have a dispute in their books for the last 10 years that goes unresolved. So we need to think carefully. Corruption, obviously, those are the issues perhaps that we may not address in this forum, but to say we need to look at where are some of those gaps. This is one glaring gap. If you have a way to unlock 400 billion, as you look at other ways of doing maybe privatizations and other things that would reduce or cause us to pay our debts and be able to do more public service, then we must think carefully about those leakages. I think we talked earlier, Eric, about on the international tax side, issues about treaties. So, let's explore some of this.
Let's talk about that actually after we come back from the break. Are there people who are making a lot of money here, but then they're able to get away with not paying tax legally? 24 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. James Karanja is a tax director at Anjarwala and Kana law firm. He's here to educate us about tax. He's already told us this estate duty tax, forget about it. This is a non-existent law. So this conversation, mute. So let's move on. Tell him about Minute Maid.
Right. So let's take a minute actually and refresh with Minute Maid. Think about it. And imagine that you would then be able to relax after decluttering from all this tax talk with all the very many flavors that Minute Maid has to offer. So take a Minute Maid break.
Sounds good.
We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Hiya, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. I mean, I don't understand. What are they saying?
How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes. My name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
16 and sunny in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 30, highs of 29 in a sunny Nakuru at 14, and it's 14 and sunny in Nyeri, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Eldoret at 12. 26 and mostly sunny conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in a sunny Malindi at 26. It's 20 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 19, and Kakamega will be sunny today, going to highs of 31 and lows of 15. Partly sunny at 20 in Kampala, highs of 29 and highs of 32 in a cloudy. Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 15 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28 and lows of 15, while cloudy conditions will go through Lagos at 26 currently, going to highs of 33. 33 will also be the high in Kinshasa, where it's clear at 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, so what are we looking at? Heavy traffic still continuing on the Thika Superhighway. Now, this one is really heavy. Folks are using the service lanes, and even those have quite some traffic. Traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway is well into Kiambu County. And we're also looking at traffic on the northern bypass as you then try to come into your Runda Ridgeways, but very heavy. Ruaka, quite some traffic is coming and touching all the way on Limuru Road. It's coming in from Kitisuru, touching on Limuru, as well as coming in from the village market. So that part of town is an absolute mess. It's also bumper to bumper on James Gishuru, crossing over Wayaki Way. Even further than that, we're looking at Gitanga Road, Naivasha Road, Gong Road, everywhere, jam-packed. It's bleeding on Langata Road, and it's getting onto the Nyayo Stadium roundabout junction out towards Haile Selassie. So yes, we are on traffic hour, and there it is on the eastern bypass, bumper to bumper, just at the junction coming in from North Airport Road. All right, that's what it looks like now. To be expected. Let's see what happens in a short while. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
To 8, the conversation continues with James Karanja, tax expert. He's a tax director at Anjarwala and Kana. He's worked with the Kenya Revenue Authority before. He's worked with the Organization for Economic... What?
Cooperation and Development.
Those ones. OECD. It's a multinational. All right. So... we're talking about tax, and the conversation, like you're saying, James, is about time that we, all of us as a country, then talk about tax and how tax can be used to incentivize growth, and also that everybody pays an equitable share of tax. Those that are wealthy, that are in privileged positions, should pay more. But in this country, those that are in those privileged positions are actually the ones who have very many ways of getting exemptions. You've told us the political leaders have that. Yes, this and the other, you cannot tax their allowances. The head of state gets very many tax exemptions on consumption, very many things. And yet we say, kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. Hawalipi ushuru na wanatutegemea.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I say, we keep this professional from where I stand. And it really should not be about getting... we need to look at the bigger picture. Take, for instance, within the context of ensuring that there's an equitable share by those who are rich and able to pay more, that we also seal some of those loopholes. I see the government now will be coming up with a new budget measures. I see capital gains is one of those areas that they're saying they look to increase the rate. Clearly, you're going to get a lot of uproar here and there, where people who've been very comfortable in paying less would be called upon to pay more. But I think it's really, really important that we ensure that this is done equitably, that those who've been bearing the bigger brunt of this at the lower end, like I talked about earlier, those we need to safeguard, and then to talk about some of those ways that the richer people are able to pay less. So some of those are structural, like if you are an owner of capital, then you pay less through, if you're more of an investor and what you get is capital gains, you're paying a lesser rate of tax than the rest who are paying, at 30% or more. So these questions are really questions that I'm saying we really need to focus on our tax policy now. Thank you.
Can we draw some parallels here because I think we where you're coming from, I can understand, the need to, draw and color within the lines and say, look, this is how it works. However, we cannot run away from the subjective matter of tax. We can't. That it is to be expected that if a nation taxes its people, that there are certain things that the people then expect to see as a result of that tax.
Correct.
So people complain about high taxes, not because the tax is high, but because they do not see the result of these high taxes. There are countries in this world, on this planet, where people are taxed almost 45% of their income. However, their children go to school for free.
Correct.
They can eat food off the tarmac because it is so smooth. They do not have to worry about whether one day the lights will be on or off. They don't have to worry about if there is a pothole on said road, it will be fixed within a matter of time. They don't have to beg, lobby and picket. So this is what we're talking about now. Could it be that we see people evading and avoiding tax here in Kenya because you're not sure what you're getting out of it?
Sure.
In fact, you're almost sure that what you're getting is a negative return. Is it possible?
Yeah, thank you, Nduoko. I think the tax seems to be a really big issue for us at the heart of the social contract between the people and their leaders. So tax is a way for you to say, hey, wait, you're taxing me and I'm holding you accountable to do certain things. So yes, the social sets, the Nordics have been really good with this, with extremely high tax rate, but everybody, the schooling, the education, the infrastructure is also positive, the hospitals, the medical system.
And if anything should go belly up, they have a sovereign fund where everybody in the country gets a certain amount of, money going to them,
True. So, this is at the heart of the contract, which is why I'm saying the discussion needs to be broadened. Then the public need to ask the questions about how are we getting taxed? And as we're getting taxed, what value are we getting back from the state?
Yeah.
So as we do this, we do our responsibility and then we ask those questions. So it is really sad when, for instance, the Revenue Authority needs to really be depoliticized. While like in the US, you see the IRS, depending on which party is in the house, it's defund the IRS or then fund the IRS or, shut down the IRS. You cannot do without this institution that collects revenue. Regardless of which government comes into the house, that institution must stay professional. And I'm privileged and grateful, that I was able to get Kerry to join the Forum on Tax Administration, which is like top leading administrations in the world who come together and share ideas. So they must be cutting edge. They must continue to do their job to collect and to collect responsibly. And then the citizens then have a role to ask that question. Now that you've collected this, how is it being applied? And that's a question of accountability of our leaders, whether those in parliament, and you quack me up a little there, and I don't want to sort of get into that, but sio kutegemewa, it is all of us.
All of us tujitegemee.
Sote tujitegemee. I think this is an important rallying call for all of us.
If you look at the flip side, and then the question is, why then do you think in these countries, you mentioned the IRS, for example, the majority of folks don't play? You pay your taxes, you pay your taxes. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they don't even think twice? That, okay, can I get away with it this month? Can I get away with it this year? Why don't they have that conversation?
One, because the revenue body is so strong. I tell you, the sort of enforcement or compliance measures, those you cannot wish away. Your tax administration has to be strong, has to be effective, has to be able to reach the broadest audience of people who are earning an income. That you cannot wish away. But having said that, there is what is called not tax morality, but tax this positive
allegiance.
Yes, to pay tax. This is something else.
So there's patriotism.
Patriotism. It is.
Can they see the result of their tax? So they say, you know what, these guys are doing something with it, so we might as well pay it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the question. I just remember once a minister in government passed who says, I don't see what tax money does. And so why do we pay? And then you think about it.
And this is a minister.
This is a minister in government. So we must all see what it is that taxes do. We're all driving on these beautiful roads. We have our challenges, true. Many of us maybe would be taking our children to private school because the public school system may not be as effective for everybody. It's not enough to take everybody. Our hospitals may not be able to handle everyone. So we really, which goes before which? Do we say we do not pay tax because we do not receive the service, or do we do as we must, ensure that our institutions collect all the money they are supposed to collect, and then we hold our leaders accountable. We are still a really young democracy. We're still a growing nation. And I think as a country, we need to be proud of how much we've achieved through different things that the country is able to do to mobilize for public good. That as a country in the region, people look at Kenya and say, wow, this is a country that they can look up to.
Yeah. And a quick one around, I mean, Kenyans are reeling from the high cost of living, right? Yeah. You have already the cost of electricity is quite high. Right now, EPRA is conducting those public hearings because of Kenya Power saying we need some more money from Kenyans. We're hearing about possible water taxes on the way as well, more expensive. There was some proposal around even taxing money transfers and all that. I wonder from where you sit in as far as a tax policy and what guides an administration, to the extent that you could also keep taxing. Yes, you want to collect all of this revenue, but that they could get to a point of that straw that breaks the camel's back. And I wonder what for you that would be. What must the government be wary of? That yes, you want to collect the money. Yes, you're keen and intent on this, but also how far is too far? Is there a place you can cross without even realizing in this whole campaign of let's everyone pay tax, let's all raise these funds?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the question, I think, at the heart of tax policy, and which is why we're saying professionals, government should really be engaging professionals to think through the entire economic system. You have externalities that are created by taxes that if you put in place, for instance, you increase levies on gas to the point where cooking gas becomes unaffordable. And what you do, you start creating other environmental challenges. People go back to using charcoal. You take maybe the things, the drinks people take, and you overtax those, and people will end up going back to illicit brews, which then are extremely harmful. So yes, a tax policy is not just about saying this is more, or this is the one area we're looking at. I think it's so broad, and a government must be using professional advice, using its economists, its experts to say where can we, if we collect this tax, what is the effect here? What is the effect here? I think a lot of these things ought to be tested. And the national tax policy, like I said earlier, would be a platform for the country to say, okay, wait, at the heart of our social contract, our tax and how you can tax us, could we agree at least what are these basics, and that you're going to ensure that professionals are also in place that look this through. The Parliamentary Budget Office, is it properly resourced? Are there people who can look through or do measurements like they do in the US, where they can determine, well, this tax won't really, the impact of it will not really be positive. Can we perhaps look in another direction? So really, really important that we do this professionally.
What I hear, James, and you can correct me, is the bigger conversation in terms of just getting everybody on board and everybody paying taxes is equity. Just making sure that I pay my equitable share of tax, which means that depending on the level I am in the social status, I'm paying that. And I also feel that there is value of what I'm receiving. I think one of the things that people argue about is, why are people going into politics. There are many people who are going into politics because they want to, bring about real change. And there are very many people who are going into politics because it gives them certain privileges. And those privileges are, of course, you get into another higher income bracket and you don't even feel the pinch of the tax that you pay. And you can find ways in which you end up not paying tax. You get into those avenues where you have conversations where you can get exemptions on this and the other. Or you are getting into that level of business where you operate at a level you influence policy. Kenya signs tax treaties with these certain countries, and then these companies are making a lot of money, and instead of that money actually going to a tax authority, that money is exempt for one reason or the other. So when those who are informally employed, or those who are just watching, are seeing the privilege they're getting away with it, they don't have any incentive to come into the tax bracket and pay.
Yeah, so you raise a valid point. So first, this is my tea and bread every day is as a tax practitioner focused on international tax. We advise on transfer pricing and international tax structuring and such things. So yes, let me say that it's really important for businesses to ensure that they are efficient, they are effective, that they are not, when they're operating in many jurisdictions, they are not, double taxed. You do business in all East Africa, and as you do that business, money is being taxed across each of those jurisdictions. But yes, there has been a question of abuse of treaties, for instance, to say this question of the hidden exemption, the side that we all don't see, is that when an income under treaty is not cannot be taxed here, what you've done, you've effectively changed the local tax law, and on the other side where the income is moving, that income is now not being taxed. So effectively, someone has been able to sort of shift out in a way that is artificial or not done properly, and the country ends up losing. So when I say this is a multifaceted challenge, it's really important that we look through and discuss this. One really important area that I have to laud the Kenya government is on digital service tax. The global discussion going on, well, fine. There's this put in place, this OECD BEPS. But then the reality is without digital service tax, for instance, without the government itself looking to say we are going to levy transactions, tax on transactions, some of those solutions globally may not give a result, as we've noticed. And that when Kenya stands out and says, no, we are going to tax, and Kenya stands out in Africa, perhaps with Nigeria as the only countries that have stepped back and said, we are going to collect this tax. I think this is something that should be lauded. This is something government should look at even as a greater source or potential source of income, because you are diversifying. You are saying not just the local people, but even those people who are abroad and earning money from us, that they should also be taking their fair share of the tax burden. So I think this is a laudable, commendable effort, and this is an area I think government should continue to exploit.
Okay, this tax pricing. So how does it work? There are some businesses that are doing business in Kenya, earning money from Kenya, and they end up not paying tax in Kenya.
Yeah, so this is transfer pricing is this really interesting area where companies are doing business with each other across the border, and they have an opportunity to decide where to pay their tax. Now, we would do, as Angela Rana and Kana advise you on how to ensure that you comply with the law, that what you are declaring meets the requirement of the law of arm's length principle, that what you are declaring here should be what any independent party should have paid if they were an independent business. So that's the whole essence of transfer pricing. For those who choose to just say, well, they're going to shift money out to some other jurisdiction and to do so artificially, then, those are the sort of things one would frown upon. But ensuring that companies that do business across jurisdictions are paying what they should properly pay is certainly an effort or an endeavor that is worthwhile and one that we do not shy away from.
All right, James, we thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for shedding light on tax and tax matters. Let me tell you about something that's happening in Kilifi County,
right?
In Vipingo. You've heard about Vipingo development,
yes,
by Centum Real Estate, right? So they did the first number of houses, 500 houses. They've handed over those houses to their owners. Are you one of them? Okay, now you can be in the second lot because they are releasing now the second lot of houses. So you can either take an apartment or you can take one of the bungalows or maisonettes that they have there. Beautiful. The road from Mombasa to Kilifi is being dualed, so easier. There's an airstrip in Vipingo, easier. There's SGR, and then there's a road that connects all the way from Mariakani going down, easier. Place to go.
Sounds great.
I'll give you more details.
Perfect.
James Karanja is a tax expert, tax director at Anjarwala and Kana Law Firm. Good morning, 8 a.m. Time for more conversations. First, the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Nizwa. I'm Dennis Aseto. The broken passport printer, which had resulted to the delays in the issuance of new Kenyan passports, has been repaired. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki says the delay, which had prevailed for a period of 1 year, was occasioned by lack of passport booklets. Kindiki said the Immigrations Department is in receipt of 50,000 34-page booklet, with a further 200,000 booklets expected this month and a similar number each month for the next 6 months.
The department is in receipt of 50,000 34-page booklets with a further 200,000 booklets expected this month and a similar figure each month for the next 6 months. The broken passport printer is now repaired and we are in the process of acquiring a better and more efficient printer. All eligible applicants of the Kenyan passport are hereby advised that passport booklets are now available in sufficient numbers and processing of passports has been expedited to conform to international standards.
And West Pokot leaders held a peace meeting in Chisogon on the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and West Pokot counties just a few weeks after 2 people were killed and several livestock stolen. West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin chaired the meeting and urged residents to be calm and stop retaliating when attacks occur. Kachapin has also blamed the government for allegedly giving weapons to citizens, a move he says increases tension.
Kama viongozi wa Pokot bado tunapinga kupea silaha wananchi na kuweka silaha jamii moja. Sisi kama wa Pokot sehemu hii tunasema tunapinga hiyo ni kama serikali imeshindwa kwa jukumu lake la kuweka usalama. Ukiona serikali inapatia wananchi silaha, hiyo ni thibitisho kwamba wameshindwa na kazi yao. Kuarm community ingine na imechangia sasa tension ambayo iko area hii.
Sigor Member of Parliament Peter Lochapong and Kapenguria Member of Parliament Samuel Moroto asked Interior CS Kithure Kindiki to find a quick solution to the frequent attacks between the two communities.
Kindiki lazima ajue ya kwamba president amesema Kenya si animal farm. Na sasa mimi nataka niambie Kindiki, kama wewe unafanya kazi kwa hii serikali, inakuaje sasa wewe unafanya ofisi yako na unatenga watu sasa ni kama kwamba unataka kufanya Kenya ikue animal farm?
Hizi serikali nataka kupeleka Kenya hii wapi? Hizi serikali tulipigia kura both, hata wale opposition na nini bado ni watu wa Kenya. Lakini sisi tuko na program mimi ni mtu wa hii Kenya kwanza. Badala sisi kusifu watu yetu na kusema tutafanya hii maendeleo, tutafanya hii. Sasa kidole naanza kuja. Mnatuua, mnatufanya namna hii.
County Deputy Commissioner Jeremiah Tumo said poor road networks continues to hamper police response to situations whenever they occur.
Kuna barabara 6 tumepropose sifunguliwe na nafikiri hiyo iko katika serikali yako ya county. Tutakupatia majina ya hiyo barabara, sitataja. Ya 3, Mheshimiwa Governor, kweli lazima usemwe. Hapa hatuna magari ya security. OCS wa Lomut ana gari. Hawa watu vijana wetu ya Hatsu ni wachache na pia wao hawana gari. Na tunajua ugumu wa kupatrol sehemu hii, area hii yetu bila gari.
And residents of Cheptulel had this to say.
Sasa wakati hii imekuwa shida sana, watu umekufa mpaka sisi umelia mpaka ametoa machozi mpaka wewe umechoka. Sasa hata machozi hawezi teremka tena.
Kutoka hapa mpaka sehemu za Marakwet ni mbali sana. So ukifuatilia shule zingine huku mbele hakuna shule. So imekuwa ni hatari kwa usalama ya hao watoto wenye wanasoma.
And the government's efforts to establish the Kenya Integrated Agriculture Management Information System has received a major boost after it received a grant of $5.2 million from the Swedish government in efforts to enhance the agriculture sector. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi said the platform will help to leverage information to provide e-extension, credit management, mechanization services, and food security statistics. Linturi stated that through KAMIS, the farmer's address will be accessed, the acres of land owned, types of crops the farmer plants, number of cows or sheep owned, saying this data will even help the ministry in their planning, monitoring and evaluating how the sector is doing. And Chuka Referral Hospital is set to become a level 5 facility following President William Ruto's directive to the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has pledged to work with the county government of Tharaka Nithi to support the Chuka County Referral Hospital to comply with level 5 status. Cabinet Secretary for Health Nahomicha Wafula said the facility has made great strides, but more work needs to be done. The CS said the Ministry of Health will provide the necessary equipment such as CT scan and HDU machines to support the upgrade. And the death toll across Turkey and Syria has risen to at least 2,318 after a powerful 7.8 magnitude earthquake rocked southern Turkey. The death toll in Turkey is 1,498 according to Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Agency. The death toll in Syria is 820, but the numbers continue to go up. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The Thika Superhighway is giving this morning, and it is traffic. It's heavy. It's bumper to bumper. It's all the way from beyond the Safari Park Hotel heading out towards the city. So this one, premium tier is loading. It's really also very bad on Kiambu Road today. I do not know how many lanes there are. I think folks stopped counting at 3. Heavy coming out of Kiambu, heavy coming out of Limuru Road, Village Market, Ralston Academy, all the way past there. We're looking at heavy traffic within the city and also coming out of Westlands. James Gishuru is doing that thing this morning. In and outbound traffic is very heavy. Juja Road, folks complaining about what might be happening there. Not quite sure what's causing this, but it's different from most mornings because it's really, really heavy. In and outbound, it's crossing over through towards Muranga Road. So let's watch out for that. You don't need to be there. Please do not. Avoid it if you can. The Eastern Bypass, some traffic there as well. We're still in the middle of traffic hour, folks. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 8 on the 7th day of February 2023. Welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook. We are everywhere, broadcasting from Kenya to the world. We have Sophia Wanuna as our guest host today. Sophia is the deputy editor for broadcast KTN. C.T. Muga is away for the week, but he'll be back. We have two guests who are joining us today to commemorate a special day. It's a Safer Internet Day. Mercy Mutembi is a managing partner at Nzeli and Sumbi Advocates, and Dr. Vincent Goody is acting director Cybersecurity at the Communications Authority. We welcome them the way we welcome all our guests every morning with a day's proverb. Because CT is away, I am CT. So CT, the proverb. Yes. The proverbs all of this week are from the country of Malawi. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Mercy, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
That is one of the hot seats of the Situation Room.
Oh, okay.
Make yourself comfortable. Enjoy the ride.
I feel like I should be scared.
That's what they want you to feel, but no. We're here to make you comfortable.
Okay.
Dr.
Happy to
Ngundi,
be here.
good morning as well.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
This proverb from Malawi, what's your interpretation of it? Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day.
Yeah, I think it's about friendship. It's about making sure that you're good to people in a way that you leave a mark in the world when you exit the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mercy, is this something for you?
Yeah, I feel like it's true. First of all, you can't buy kindness and you can't repay it in cash. So it's actually becoming very rare in today's world to find people who are kind, but there's people who are willing to pour money for all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
I agree with it. Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Today is Safer Internet Day, is it?
Yes.
It is.
Today?
Yes.
Okay, why today?
I think it's like we have many other international days, whether it's Women's Days, Men Days. Safer Internet Day is one of those days that has been earmarked by the globe to celebrate and to promote, cyber resilience, cyber hygiene, and the theme really resonates with it because it's together. Let's work together to have a safer internet. So that also tells us a collaborative approach. So I think it's a significant day. It doesn't mean that nothing else happened before today, obviously, but it's really a day to celebrate the importance of cyberspace, the transformative nature of technology, and how we need to exploit technology by ensuring that it's safe for not only ourselves, for not only social economic transformation, but also for our children. Because one of the areas that we look at is children and the youth, because they're the future of our country and the world. Yeah.
Is it marked just in Kenya, or is it regionally, is it global?
It's globally. Yeah. 7th of February every year is Global Safer Internet Day. Yeah.
So when you say safer internet, the connotation then is that the internet is not a safe place. And would that be, from the very beginning, we're saying it is
we want to make it safer.
Then it's not safe. Dangerous, big, bad, ugly creatures lurking under the www. Is that what we're saying, that it's not a safe place right now, Mercy?
I think about the internet as an alternate universe. If you think about our offline world, would you say it's safe? You could be walking, down the street in Nairobi and someone could mug you. So I think spaces by themselves are not safe or unsafe. It's behavior that tends to corrupt the spaces. So I think with the internet, what has become is that it has the potential of changing your life in such glorious ways, very positive ways, but also has the potential to ruin your life. So then the connotation is not that it's already an unsafe place, it's that there are bad actors in that space. So there are some things you need to do to make sure that your experience is a safe experience online. That, I think, is the reason behind calling it a safe internet, kind of campaign. Yeah.
And I wonder, Dr. for you, whether there are any worrying trends, especially in the context of Kenya, as we mark this day.
Yeah. So one of the roles of the communications authority is to monitor the cyber threats globally, on the global internet, on the cyber threats that target the country. Over the past couple of months, we've detected over 500 million attacks that have targeted the country. We've issued over 6 million advisories. So what happens is that once we detect attacks, we analyze them, our team analyzes it and comes up with advisories, which is really, this is what you're saying, this is what you need to do, and this is what we recommend as possible interventions. So we've seen that. But just going to a little bit granular, some of the things that we have seen, and they're occasioned by COVID, is on one hand, we've seen an increase in web-based attacks. And the reason behind this is because most people went cloud during the COVID time, and most organizations have realized that it's not really a bad thing to go cloud. In fact, most organizations have actually gone beyond COVID and insisted that they'll continue using cloud services and teleworking and so on and so forth. The second one, obviously, we've seen is on system vulnerabilities and mainly Internet of Things attacks. And the main thing is because we're seeing an increase in the deployment of Internet of Things devices or Internet of Things devices to ensure that we enhance our how we harness technology. So those are the two main things that you've seen. We have realized also there's a lot of attacks on of course, end users. And obviously the biggest attack vector when it comes to infiltrating systems is the people element. It's the weakest link. So this show, among other initiatives that we have, plays a significant role in creating user awareness to ensure that the weakest link doesn't become the weakest link anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you talk about attacks, what do they take? What kind of persona do they take on? Because when you think attack, you think, okay, maybe somebody's throwing a bomb. Okay, but now here we're talking about the internet. So what kind of attacks are we? What are we talking about when we say attacks?
It's actually throwing a bomb. It can also be throwing a bomb. It can actually be throwing a bomb, only that it doesn't explode.
Right.
It explodes within technology. So there are many kinds of attacks. You know, from system compromise, where for example, I'll give a financial system, whether it's a banking system, whether it's a mobile app system, ensuring that end users can get access to it. And there are many ways of doing it. And of course, there are many ways of also preventing it. So that's one kind of attack. Obviously, you're seeing a lot of online abuse, whether it's online impersonation, cyberbullying. It's become a big thing, especially for children. There's also social engineering. People, attackers kind of get personal information from, unknowingly from end users. And of course, that leads to other kinds of attacks. So there's a raft of attacks out there. And the intentions also vary. It could be geopolitics. It could be an issue of competition. It could be just hacktivists. People want to send a message out there. It could be for fun. There are kids out there who are trying out things that end up messing up a lot of things. So there are a raft of reasons, but also quite a number of vectors that can be used to propagate the attacks.
So we're talking about cyber insecurity here. And just like you've mentioned, there are those cyber attacks. There could be hackers. There could be email scammers. Those ones that just get into you and they make you do things. But many people, when they hear of Safe Internet Day, they think of children and just making sure that children are protected from the internet.
Yeah.
And what are these threats that go specifically to children?
So one of the most prevalent ones is obviously social engineering, where you try and get personal information from children. It could be where they live. It could be the identity of their parents. It could be, can you pick your credit card from your dad's, whatever, and read me these numbers. It could be all sorts of attacks. That's one element. The second, obviously, is bullying, which is really a serious issue for our children, and it's also one of the most prevalent things. There are also things like child sexual exploitation, which is pornography, and so on and so forth. So those are the main things that we are seeing when it comes to children.
Can I jump in a little bit on the aspect about children? I think from a practice perspective, the other thing we've been seeing is a lot of grooming of children online. So this is what grooming is getting children to trust you online. So it starts with DMs, very innocent DMs. You look really nice in this picture. I really liked your post about this. So they have this long game plan where they build trust with children over time, and the children begin to trust them. And this could even be with teenagers as well. And then, of course, if you've been chatting with someone for like 3 years, there's no reason to doubt that they would want to harm you, especially if they keep encouraging you, focus in school and, respect your parents. And then just like that, children find themselves in very inappropriate relationships, which they themselves are not aware that this is an inappropriate relationship. If you really think about it, even from a sexual perspective, you can't talk about consent with underage children. So if your child is online and they're now posting pictures because they've been texting with this person and they trust this person and they're sending intimate photos of themselves, they've been groomed and they don't know how to explicate themselves from that situation.
And parents, I wonder, when talking about children, is there more that they could do, or are many of them, from your experience, ignorant, or just like, okay, they have their tablet, they're busy and I can get to work, I can get to live my life, and, they have their time managed by this gadget?
And I know what they're doing, because because I constantly, check and check what they're looking at.
Yeah.
I think with parents, first of all, it depends on what age the parents. I feel like if they're my age, I think we millennials have a very particular problem, is that we are very excitable about technology. So this is when we are really into the Instagrams and into the Twitters, and we really want to post our lives. So half of it is that we are a threat to our children because we are oversharing the details. And you'll be like, no, I'll never say where my child goes to school, but you post the school uniform, right? And you'll say, oh, I just came from drop off, and the drop off, everyone can see what path you're on. So you're already putting your children at risk. But at the same time, we're not investing in educating ourselves on, the kind of phishing attacks out there, even on Instagram or even on WhatsApp. You're not educating yourself. So we really want to be beneficiaries of technology, but we don't want to learn it. We want our children, for example, to be on TikTok and to partake of what it brings, but we're not, we don't even understand how algorithms work and what kind of filters our children should put on their phones. And then there's, the generation that's a bit older that doesn't quite understand. So then the common theme here is parents have to know first. They have to really invest in educating themselves so they can help the children. The monitoring dynamic doesn't always work, because when children realize you're monitoring everything they do, they become smarter than you, and you lose access to them, very, very quickly. So it can't be monitoring. It has to be more about education, which starts with you, and then you transfer it down to the child and explain to them why the kind of safety measures you're taking are the way they are.
I agree with Mercy, actually, and I think children might end up being, or the youth for that matter, might end up being our saving grace. Because at times you find situations where the adults need the children more than the children need the adults, especially when it comes to technology. But we've taken a different approach. We need to take an innovative approach to this. We need to look at the ecosystem, the ecosystem surrounding children. So there's the children themselves, obviously, and then we have parents, guardians, we have the faith-based organizations, we have the teachers, and so on and so forth. So we need to have an awareness program that targets that ecosystem, so that we have programs for the children themselves, we have programs for adults, guardians, for example, and parents, we have programs for faith-based organizations, because and you mentioned trust. I mean, we all trust our pastors, our priests, and so on and so forth. If you hear something from them, then that's bound to have a significant impact on that child, isn't it? Or on that person, whether it's a child or an adult. So it's about looking at strategic interventions that will make sure that we have broad-based awareness across the ecosystem.
Making the internet a more dangerous place is perpetuated by people.
Absolutely.
It's not robots. It's not some extraterrestrial being. It's people. So what does the surveillance currently look like to bring some of these people to book? The internet jail. I mean, what? Because I think that's just as important. We seem to be dealing with making it safer in terms of what we can do, because there's this threat. However, what about what mechanisms are in place to then make sure that those who are actually working on these things can actually know that there's an eye on them?
Actually, I actually wish you had an internet jail where you just you can, drag and drop somebody into that jail. But and this is based on the globe best practice. Cybersecurity is not a one-man show; it's a collaborative approach. And what the Kenyan government has done is we enacted in 2018, had some issues, and it was reenacted on 2022, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, which really entrenches a multi-agency, multi-stakeholder approach to the management of cybercrime. So one of the things that act has done is to set up what you call the National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee, which brings together key government stakeholders, organizations, from the military to the intelligence, to the police, which is mainly the DCI, to Communications Authority, the Central Bank. We have the DPP, Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. We have the Attorney General's Office, among other actors in law, to make sure that that committee has reads from the same script. So one of the roles of that committee is to advise government on the interventions that are needed to be able to ensure that we have enhanced cyber resilience as a country. And obviously the number of programs that are being rolled out, the role of Communications Authority in monitoring cyberspace is one of them. We have a multi-agency approach to make sure that once we see anything that is criminal in nature, it's swiftly sent to the Director of Criminal Investigations. And that has made sure that we're expeditious in our response when it comes to issues of cybercrime. So there are a number of initiatives that are being done. This show, of course, plays a significant role in ensuring and informing Kenyans that the government is working, but also to say that it's not a government responsibility. And that's why the theme for today's Safer Internet Day is very important. It's about togetherness. It's about concerted and collaborative effort.
Yeah.
You
Can
know,
I just explain why that point about why it's not a government job alone? I think what we enjoy from the internet, for example, is the freedom that we can post something and our location is hidden. Like no one is going to know where I'm posting it from. So if you think about what keeps you safe online, it keeps criminal aspects safe as well. They really capitalize on the security of encryption and anonymity to do whatever they want to do. And stay hidden at the same time. So you can't, I wish there was like a surveillance way of doing it, but there isn't. Without affecting you and I's rights, who are not even criminal in nature, you can't cast a white debt like that. So I think, well, as you know, it's a really bad reality, but the buck stops with us, the users. It's like, it's our job to make sure we are not conned. I know it sounds bad.
Because usually you're only dealing with this when the threat is in your when the danger is actually in your face. I mean, just looking at a mother who didn't know what her teenager or who her teenager was talking to until the point where said teenage daughter is asking the mother, please drop me off at so-and-so place. I'm going to meet a friend. This girl is 13 years old. Turns out she was meeting a 45-year-old man in Nairobi. The threat is in your face before you know what to do about it. There's no what can you do before? So when we talk about the responsibility being then in our hands, what really can you do before? Make sure your children are not, or you need to know who they're talking to. Like the way Eric said, I know who they're talking to on the phone. Oh no,
that's
not
what
really.
parents think.
Do you?
because they are sitting across me, I know what they're doing.
Do you?
Really?
Assumption. But I think you're right. It's difficult. There are no straight answers to it, obviously. But for me, I think awareness is very paramount. And knowing what your kids are doing. It's actually kind of like a transposition from the traditional old society of we didn't have phones and anything. We still were responsible for our children in terms of growing their morals and so on and so forth. I think now we need to invest more because we can't run away from technology. These are digital citizens. So we have to make sure that we equip ourselves to be able to play our parental role in the digital space. I think that's what it's not easy. There are no straight answers, but I think we need to invest more in our building our own capacity as parents, so that we can be able to raise our children with certain morals and certain etiquette.
You know, in life outside the internet. So the state has this machinery that it has. All these agencies, they do patrols. They can check in on you at any time. On the internet, is that what I heard you saying? So there's this multi-stakeholder group that comes together from intelligence to DCI to communications authority.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying, that you're actually constantly snooping on what people are doing?
Not really snooping. Not really snooping. I can tell you, I don't even think you have the capability to do the kind of snooping that people talk around, neither the resources, for that matter. But what I'll say is that when it comes to, for example, a traditional role like the police role, the DCI, remember they have the old traditional way of doing investigations, isn't it?
Yep.
So you need to also have mechanisms to perform the same function in the digital world.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're intelligence, there are ways of doing it, using human intelligence, whatever it is, or whatever methods that they use. You must have the capability to perform the same mandate. And the issue is about mandate. Yeah. So it's about making sure that your mandate is actually covered even from a digital perspective, isn't it?
Are those laws sufficient? Because that's where I'm heading.
Okay.
You see, we have all these laws. You have the data protection law, the Misuse and Cybersecurity Act, and all these. Are they sufficient to actually allow the government, the state, to do that job without crossing over into where the lawyer will come and tell us, hey, civil liberties, and you're infringing into my space.
Yeah, I think the laws are adequate. But I'll leave Mercy to speak about it. I'll tell you, in terms of functionality, the laws are adequate because in any case, the right to privacy and freedoms are protected by the Constitution. And every law is subsidiary to the Constitution anyway. But I can tell you in terms of functionality, in terms of ensuring that the country, the level of cyber resilience for the country is high, the laws are adequate. I think the rest is just operationalization. But they are indeed adequate.
Are they?
Well, you're asking someone who challenged that Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act in court. So I think that's why he's putting me on the spot. But here's the thing with online offenses. How do you regulate only that which is bad without overreaching? And I'll give an example. If you look at the offense of cyberbullying, how it's been described in the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, it says anything that could cause, annoyance or that could, cause distress. Well, if you're a politician and people are saying you stole money, that's causing you distress.
Yeah.
But is it cyberbullying? Do you get where I'm going with that?
Yeah, if they don't have evidence.
No, there's evidence. People are just talking about you because you're trending. So you're in court, people are talking about your case. They're causing you distress. So that's what tends to happen with behavior crimes. Of course, there's the structural crimes like hacking, and there's no doubt about that. But when it comes to content offenses, there's always this tendency to cross the line.
Yeah.
So I don't think the solution is in the laws, because even the enforcement is very, very difficult. Case in point, the fake news offenses, who determines it's true and it's fake. How many cases have gone to the judgment point? But just, reeling it back to a question she asked earlier on, okay, so are we saying there's nothing that can be done before that? I feel like we can go through some practical things that can be done. For example, in that incident, I'm just assuming it's Instagram because that's like the most popular platform people use to chat. It's teaching children why a private account is important. I know for us who crave attention and crave likes and, the popularity culture, a public account is what you want because you want to see how many...
As many people following you as possible.
Exactly. You want to know the follows. You want to know how many times you're trending. No, if you're after security and you don't have a public profile, a private account is the way to go. And even then, you don't owe everyone who sends you a friend request a duty to accept them. Or if they send you a DM, you don't have to respond, especially if you don't know them. Like, the internet is not this magical place where you're going to meet all these magical characters. It is, on the contrary, just what you find in real life. You don't go stop at the stage and say hi to everyone. It just never happens like that, right? Or even passwords, something like password culture. A lot of us have our names and dates of birth as our birthday.
Something you can remember, Mercy.
What's on your status, on your WhatsApp status, on your birthday?
Eric want to.
Yeah.
on your birthday,
I have so many things to remember, Mercy. A password should not be one of them.
Get a password manager, right? Get a password manager.
Who's that?
No, not a password. I feel like depends on the phone you use. Not to drop names, but there are some phones that come with a password manager where you have a password to the password manager. So if it's not you, no one else can access your password. But you don't have to remember all your passwords. They just need to be secure.
Right.
Because what's going to happen?
And that password manager is on the internet.
It's not a person though.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
but it's in that space.
Yeah,
it's in that same space.
It's think about it as a directory of your passwords that is secured with your own password. Yeah, and then change it up once in a while, because the birthday problem, let me tell you, on your birthday you're going to be there on your WhatsApp stories. Say hi to me on my birthday, and everyone's going to know your password just like that, right? So,
do you know how many times we have to remember and keep changing passwords? Hey, anyway,
I think
let's take a break, Dr.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Right, it's time for a Minute Maid break. Ndu, please serve them some juice.
It's under the table. However, look, take a Minute Maid break. Sometimes you think about, because I'm thinking about all of this internet thing and I'm sweating because I think, oh my goodness, the thing that can help us actually can be of anyway. Take a Minute Maid break in all the fantastic flavors that it has to offer. A minute with Minute Maid. Declutter and have an moment.
Indeed. Dr. Vincent Ngundi is the Acting Director of Cybersecurity at the Communications Authority, and Mercy Mutemi is the Managing Partner at Nzili and Sumbi Advocates. They're here this morning because it's Safer Internet Day. We are talking about how to make the internet a safer place to be. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 18, highs of 30 and lows of 16 today. We'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Nakuru, and it's 14 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 29 and lows of 12. 16 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 27. Looking into Mombasa, it's mostly cloudy, rather mostly sunny at 28, highs of 32. It's cloudy in Malindi at 27, highs of 31. We'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Kisumu and 22 and sunny in Kakamega, going to highs of 31. Cloudy at 23 out in Kampala with highs of 29 and 32 will be the high. In a cloudy Dar es Salaam at 28. Looking into Joburg, it's cloudy at 15, highs of 28. And into Lagos, 33 will be the high in at 26 at the moment. 21 and mostly sunny in Kinshasa, highs of 33 and lows of 21.
Spice up your life.
All right, so we're looking at Garden City Mall, and that's where most of the traffic is starting on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Coming out towards Muranga Road, heavy through to the Globe Cinema overpass, and we still see that. Traffic coming out of Limuru Road, United Nations Avenue, that still continues. James Gishuru gunning for number one traffic menace this week and might just win. It's been crazy. Mombasa Road not doing too badly. The southern and eastern bypass is looking good. Northern bypass had some issue right around that Raka junction, but seems to be thinning out. So yay. All right, let's take a look in about half hour, see what it looks like. But now you should be all right. I think most of the madness is over. But let's talk anyway. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right.
94.4 Spice FM.
To 9. Our guests this morning, starting with our guest host, Sophia Wanuna, and then the Acting Director, Cybersecurity at Communications Authority, Dr. Vincent Ngundi, and Mercy Mutemi, Managing Partner at Nzili and Sumbi Advocates. We are talking about safer internet. Look, the issue of the streets being safe is going to be a conversation that goes on a while. Yeah. So this government, for example, the government has decided that digital transformation is one thing that we must do. Yeah. We must create a digital economy. There's actually a state department for that purpose. We have all these laws in place, but we have seen what's happening. It's moving into more high-tech kind of theft and attacks online. We have heard cases, we've seen cases of people being arrested, crossing over borders because of what they've done, basically just stealing millions of shillings from local banks. We have seen Kenyans who are very enterprising and who are very well knowledgeable being jailed abroad because of same thing, cybercrime. And so it's a big threat. are we really prepared here to deal with this level of cyber criminals?
Yeah, the president obviously is the biggest champion of digital transformation, which is a good thing for any economy. And of course, there are also timelines for the digitization of the 5,000 public services. But that comes. It's a process. So among the things that is being done by government is to do a gap analysis of our capabilities. Where are we as a country, and where do we need to be, or what do we need to do to make sure that the digital transformation agenda is laid on a secure digital platform? I think that's where we're coming from. And it's, as I said, it's a process. We're working with all stakeholders because remember, majority of cyberspace, the infrastructure, is run by the private sector, obviously. And that's why I'm saying, so we're taking a collaborative approach. We're trying to understand our capabilities as a country, so as government, as a private sector, among other stakeholders. And that will inform how we roll out the digitization of public services.
Dr. Ngudi, you see the scare here, though, is that everything goes online.
Yeah.
Being spearheaded by government.
Yeah.
And then the private sector is supposed to follow suit. So all my information, from my date of birth to my DNA to all the properties I own, every place I've worked, everywhere I've lived, where I'm moving to and from, all this is somewhere being held by government. And the private sector is also feeding information into this. Now, it just takes one attack for someone to know, Sophia,
everything.
I have all your information. I can actually impersonate Sophia and take everything she owns, including her identity.
Or you can go through a truck to the Citizen Services Department and carry all the files, and you'll still have the same information.
Yes.
Obviously, it's easier when it's obviously it's easier when it's online. What I can tell you is that there is no system that is foolproof. So what you're raising is a global concern. Even the most advanced economies grapple with the same things. And I can tell you, if you do a simple search of cyber attacks in developing economies, you'll be shocked. But is the initiative of digital transformation important? It is, because it's about bringing services closer to people. So whether it's, the example I give is that if you digitize a service, for example, it will bring a service from an average of 5 to 10 kilometers, which is where your next government office is, to 0 kilometers, bring it to the people. What does that do? It brings socioeconomic transformation, ease of access to services, efficiency, effectiveness in delivery, both in the private and public sector. So I think the motivation should be the impact to the economy. Then we work backwards and ask ourselves, what do we need to do? Remember, why do we invest in securing our borders? Is to make sure that we are globally competitive, because people will only invest in a safe environment. I think we need to transform that and move it to also the digital economy, to make sure that let's not be afraid. Is it a good thing? Yes. What needs to be done? Let's build the capabilities to make sure that we do it in a way that transforms and helps Kenyans.
Which is where my concern is, and that's why I'm asking this question. I'm asking whether our institutions are actually building that capability to make sure that we are kept safe.
Absolutely.
The Communications Authority, do we have the proper laws? Do you have sufficient resources to do the job?
I'll speak on behalf of Communications Authority only, because I can't speak for any other government agency. I'm here representing the DG. So for us, we are doing everything we can within our abilities to make sure that we are ready. We've been doing it. We're not starting just now. We've been building capacity for the last 10 years when it comes to cyberspace. It's not something we've started now. And we continue building it because the world is dynamic out there. We have to keep building and making sure that we're up to standard. But as I say, this is a global issue that requires continuous and concerted effort.
And that's also the importance of advocacy. I mean, those concerns will always be there. And part of the mystery of the internet is when you've finally understood one threat, it no longer is the threat that they haibambi. They move to the new one that's in Abamba. So advocacy presents this opportunity to constantly engage with the government and feed in from researchers and technologists and tell them, okay, the approach you're taking, digital ID might have its advantages, but these are the kind of risks that we're looking at, and we're asking you to show us what safeguards are in place. I don't think it's fighting the government when you do advocacy. I think it's more, we're all in a new space and we have to find the best way forward. So that 10 years from now, we're not looking at, how the hell did you get this so wrong? Yeah.
How would you know I mean, with all this work that's being done, I mean, so just from what you said, this one comes up, you snuff it out, another one grows here, like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
How would you know then that the internet was gradually becoming a safer place, or that the safeguards that you're putting in are effective?
Absolutely.
How would you?
So one of the initiatives we have as government, and it's going to be out in the next year or so, is we are going to have a national cyber resilience index. We're going to have the baseline in the next 12 months or so that tells us as a country we are at here. So it's based obviously on metrics and tools that have been used to collect data. So we'll be doing them annually to see where we are and whether the interventions that we're putting in place are actually working.
Yeah.
So that's a very important question. How do we measure the impact of what you're doing? And statistically you use indices that help you to see whether you're making progress or not.
And as you do that, another one is morphing, so it's developing. So it's a very interesting space to be in.
It is.
Absolutely.
But you talked about government services, and the president was talking about this in that data protection conference. 5,000 of them, I think he said, in the next 6 months to be online. But many Kenyans will remember in the last administration, which he was part of, Huduma number, and were being hardened, threatened, ultimatums, get in there. This is the one source of truth. This is it. From what you said, I wonder, how did that backfire? Isn't that we didn't have the structures? Because it's not the first time we've heard about this one source of truth. It was there even before. We saw Huduma number coming in. Here we are again talking about all of this. And Eric has raised the issue that then you have all of this information. And the danger of then not having a foolproof system is that then we could really get ourselves into murky waters.
All you need is a balloon straying into our airspace.
Written Huduma.
And not shooting it down in time.
I think I had something similar to that recently. But again, I think it's about, I'll not speak about the Huduma numbers specifically or as I said, the role of digital transformation is not entirely on Communications Authority.
Correct.
We have a role to play, which is part of ensuring security, but really it's under somebody else. But what I can say is that, and based on also what the president said, is that we need a unique Kenyan identity, a unique online Kenyan identity, not the ID card, but a unique digital Kenyan identity. Now, when it comes to security, as I mentioned, there's no system that is foolproof. But there are technologies, advanced technologies that can help you make it better, whether it's cryptography or other forms of technology that will help to make sure that the data that we have online, especially personal data, is protected.
Well, I think it's never the what, it's the how it's being done. And I think that was, to your question on Huduma number, I think when we challenged the Huduma number rollout, it wasn't really about the what. It's about, okay, how are you doing this? Who is collecting the data? Where is it going? Where is there no data protection impact assessment beforehand? Because by that time we had the Data Protection Act, right? So it's good to have, big dreams, because there's no way we compete in international landscape if we don't match up to technology. That's accepted. But then the message is not for us to be trigger happy. It's not because, this country did this, then we have to do this. It's what really is our genuine problem as Kenyans. Let me give an example. We're in a rush to digitize everything, but then he'll bear witness. We are not yet at universal access level. Not everyone has access to the internet, right? So while everything might be online, there's a whole aspect, there's a whole demographic that could be locked out from government services just simply because where they come from, even getting basic technology, leave alone 4G and 3G, it's impossible to access that, right? So our unique problems call for unique solutions. If this is the Kenyan problem we're trying to solve, then we solve it, but in a wholesome way, so that we're not stepping on other people's rights. While, in Nairobi, you're getting the best of the best, but someone comes from a very remote area, now the internet comes in and makes their life even more miserable because they can't even access anything at all, right? So it's always a balancing act, but at the same time, the how, we always have to investigate how things are being done.
Didn't the Communication Authority tell us ahead of the elections that we are pretty much fully covered?
Almost. Actually, the coverage is quite wide. The coverage for 3G is quite high across the country. And obviously that advances and promotes e-commerce. And let me tell you, and I'm coming back to innovative ways of doing things. E-commerce is a big word globally. But how have we done it in Kenya? E-commerce is there because with technology, with the access to telephony services, forget about even the internet. You can call a border person and tell them go to that shop, get me something and bring it back to my house. That's really e-commerce.
That's e-commerce.
It's absolutely e-commerce. So it's not about just, it's how we approach, and that's why I like the Kenyan element, because we think outside the box at times. So that is e-commerce in itself. What has availed that? It's access to 2G or 3G technology across the country. The same with government services. Obviously, hand in hand with the digitization of services is the role of 100,000 kilometers of fiber.
Exactly.
What does that do? It makes sure that you bring the internet as close to everybody as possible. Because obviously you also need an element of broadband connectivity when it comes to some of these services.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's the threat of, because it's now a global village, businesses that are not operating in this jurisdiction just getting access into the Kenyan market and scamming people. So the other day, sometime last year, we hosted somebody from the UN who was telling us Kenya is one of the biggest countries participating in cryptocurrency. And in terms of people purchasing and transferring cryptocurrency, Kenya ranks among the top 3 in the world. Then we've seen the stories that are taking place about crypto and the collapse of crypto, and then others that are completely fake. So how safe are we as we go into this digital economy, as we're seeing, okay, so what's happening globally? It's crypto, and let's go and buy crypto. People are investing in this. There is now a whole thing about Forex, and there are all these FX traders who are online. How safe are we from those?
It's a big problem. I must say, but again, it goes to ignorance. You'll only scam somebody if they're ignorant about a subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
So again, I might be oversaying it, but I can tell you awareness is very important, both proactively and reactively at the same time. When it comes to things like crypto, of course, we've seen the central bank coming in, issuing guidance on that element, saying that they're going to do a study that will help to understand that space so that they can inform Kenyans properly. But I think at the end of the day, it's about creating awareness and building personal capability before investing or doing anything.
Who takes that responsibility? Okay, yeah,
I've
to take the responsibility to learn, but who also takes the responsibility of creating all this awareness of the warning signals and all?
Well, government has a key role to play, but I'll tell you, based on the theme, it's together, it's everybody. From what Mercy said, you'll be shocked. It was alien for government to work with civil society, but we have now embraced civil society, especially on the element of advocacy and awareness, because they're good at that. So we have agreed as let's be clear on who does what. It doesn't mean that if I work with you, you can't criticize me constructively. But let's also work together. Let's build on the synergies and strengths of the various players so that we can have a collective whole that is better for all of us.
So this continues to be, it's a rolling matter. I mean, as development and, technology continues to improve, who knows where we're going to be 10 years from now, right? So what are the challenges in terms of having expertise to work on this? Because we're talking about having a Kenyan signature, having a Kenyan digital signature, that kind of thing. What are the challenges as concerns expertise? And why I ask this, because, pardon me, let me try and bring this. We talk often about the education in the country then not matching the workforce or vice versa. Workforce not matching education. So if we're saying that there's a constant push to try and make sure that Kenya is cyber secure, it seems then there would be some gaps where we need people to do some kind of work. So when it comes to schooling, is there some kind of cross sector conversations that are happening and saying, look, guys, this is what we're trying to do? Are we educating?
Are we training for this?
Are we training for it? Or are we going to have to bring in expensive foreign labor? Whereby there's an opportunity right here to train students who could be aware that government needs this help.
Of course, government is working with players within government, really the education sector, to ensure that the courses which are out there actually meet the needs of industry. Of course, there's internship programs where you bring in interns into government, like in Communications Authority. They come to learn on the job on what needs to happen. Then there's obviously continuous training while working, because, as you said, it's really dynamic. The problems of today, I might just get out of here and I see an email that shows that there's a new vector that is out there. You can't have that in a university degree. You can have the principles of understanding what an attack vector looks like, but you can't enumerate them into a program. So that calls for professional development, continuous professional development, attending conferences, meeting your peers across the globe to share experiences. So all those, contribute towards building the capacity of a country, because where the world is going, you need to have internal capabilities, because issues of sovereignty, issues of patriotism will start becoming a key element. You don't want certain jobs to be done by a foreigner. It's going to be a very expensive, a huge risk for the country. We can't avoid it at times, but let it be those circumstances where you can't do anything about it. But the idea, the agenda is to move towards building the critical capability to handle our critical services as a government. Yeah.
I think it's also our approach towards professionalism. If you think about the employers themselves, a lot of the time the IT guy is not a high up management level person. They are the person who comes, my computer is not switching on, and what the only thing you forgot to do is switch on the socket, right? so we've minimized their jobs to this menial not management but really administrative duties, and you forget that person actually understands how the network works, and if you don't treat them well enough, they could be the person that becomes a negative factor in your company, because they understand the network. You just don't know that they understand your network. So there's also a message here for people to start prioritizing and investing in professionals. It's not that we don't have techies in Kenya. We have really, really good techies, and case in point, even when you report some of these offenses, sometimes they outsource the services of external techies to come and help the government to understand these issues, but then we don't see it as a good profession, so then you don't prioritize it, and then you're in trouble. And we're seeing the same with data protection as well. Someone just wants nisainie to reform. You don't want to invest the time to actually do the impact assessment, to really understand what the Data Protection Act requires from you. Those shortcuts are really dangerous, and they can cost you. You
know what's interesting, the president has talked about building and focusing on a digital superhighway. And so when I hear you talking about, yes, you have all of these mechanisms in place in terms of safety, but nothing is foolproof. I remember when the late President Kibaki did the Thika superhighway, and then it was a game changer. But so many people moved that side of town. Now the traffic updates are how crazy it is. So talk to me about what this, if in fact the 40 billion that the government intends to put into that project works, then what in terms of safety in that space we'll be looking at?
I think what I'm looking out for in government plans is what really are your mitigation measures, and first to get an understanding that the implementer knows what the risk is. I think what we've seen in the past, especially with county governments, sometimes when the efforts are very dissociated, CA has the right expertise, they know everything about everything, right? But you don't expect the level of expertise at CA to be the same at a county government level. So when you're judging these initiatives, you have to always, is there an understanding of the risks? Right? And that's also what the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner asks, do you understand the risks in the area you're operating in? And then give me a roadmap to what are your mitigation measures and what are your safeguards. So you always have to approach this in that direction. Yes, there's fanfare to the big project, to what we're going to achieve, but are you self-aware enough to tell me, I appreciate these are the risks that I'm putting your data in? If I'm collating all your information in eCitizen, there's a notice there that tells me, these are the following risks that your data could be exposed to. But then I'm being very honest that I have, there are standards in the tech world, right? I have deployed this particular standard, and if you can read about it here, and these are still the remaining risks that your data could be. I think it's more about transparency than selling a really beautiful future to people, and then 10 years down the line you realize that the government was lying to you. So I think it's time also to engage, right? Public participation becomes very, very important in this field, as it was even with the IBC systems, right? It's not for you to go and buy kits and just deploy them without consultation. It's for you to ask, right? Let even the manufacturers come and defend the products to us and tell us these are the security features in the kits. Right.
Your remarks, right?
They're good remarks, but at the same time, we also need to aspire, obviously, as a country. We also need to have a future that looks good.
Yep.
We also don't want to sell gloom out there. But does it require effort to achieve? Absolutely. Are we capable of doing it? I think we do. I think we have the impetus that has been given by, the aspirations of the current administration. I think we have the biggest champion you can ever have, which is the president. The least we can do is support him achieve his agenda, which in any case is bound to lead to social economic transformation.
Okay, we are looking forward to getting there. And as we, like you said, it's all about all of us collaboratively working towards having a safer internet.
Yeah.
So it's getting our own information, making sure that we understand the best we can, and making sure that we are always careful as we consume information, as we post information onto the interwebs. And to this www.
Oversharing culture.
The oversharing culture needs to stop.
Well, I won't tell you to stop. You just need to know what you're exposing yourself to. Yeah.
Needs to stop.
Yeah.
Stop. People make money off of oversharing, so
yeah.
there's a balance there.
It's a money-making venture, oversharing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're not making money, stop.
That's it, huh?
I think so. That's a good idea.
If you're not making money, stop.
What are you doing it for? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mercy Mutemi is a managing partner at Nzili and Sumbi Advocates, and Dr. Vincent Ngundi is the acting director at Cybersecurity for the Communications Authority. They've been here because today is Safer Internet Day. It's being commemorated worldwide. And the theme again for this year, Dr. Ari?
Together for a safer internet.
That's it. Together for a safer internet. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour on SpiceFM. Guys on KTN Home, thank you very much for watching. You'll be joining us again tomorrow morning, but you can switch over to SpiceFM across the country or watch us online. SpiceFM KE on Facebook and YouTube live streaming. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says there is need to protect girls and boys from harmful practices if they are to realize their full potential and live a life of dignity now and in the future. He made the remarks when he hosted UNAIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima, a delegation from the UN body in Kenya, and representatives from the Ministry of Health. This as United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called on everyone, including men and boys, to join in speaking out and stepping forward to end female genital mutilation once and for all. He spoke while marking the International Day of Zero Tolerance against this scourge, which remains a threat for a staggering 4.2 million girls this year. He said female genital mutilation is an abhorrent violation of fundamental human rights. Guterres noted that the practice of genital cutting, prevalent in some cultures for more than 1,000 years, causes lifelong damage to both physical and mental health of women and girls. And the Kenyatta National Hospital carried out a successful procedure to separate a set of 4-month-old conjoined twin brothers. The country's largest referral hospital said the 15-hour procedure was carried out without any major complications. Surgeons who performed the operation said the twins were conjoined in the chest and abdomen. Medics said a further analysis by the cardiology team showed that one of the babies had pulmonary hypertension, whereby blood was flowing through their lungs. The baby's blood pressure was later contained. KNH CEO Evans Kamuri said the twins are in stable condition within the hospital's intensive care unit, but did not give a projection of when they hoped to be discharged. And the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has registered its first collective bargaining agreement with Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital Eldoret before Lady Justice Stella of Employment and Labour Relations Court in Nairobi. In a statement, Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, George Gibore, said that the CBA has now established 6 grades of registered clinical officers, that is diploma holders, and 4 grades of clinical officers degree holders ranging from MTRH 10 to MTRH 5, and established the the Directorate of Clinical Medicine as approved by the Public Service Commission, which is a milestone achievement to the fraternity said. With the effective date of CBA agreed to be 1st of July 2022, clinical officers will receive an enhanced salary improvement as per job group. And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says there is need to protect girls and boys from harmful practices. He says this while observing the National Day on Ending Zero Tolerance on FGM. Now, Chief Justice Martha Koome has urged judiciary development partners to focus on judiciary social transformation through access to justice. Koome stated that the prioritized areas under the social transformation access through justice include providing justice for the poor, marginalized and the vulnerable, especially the children and those affected by sexual gender-based violence, promotion of alternative dispute resolution, decongestion of the justice system and expanding case resolution of infrastructure in ASIL and marginalized regions. Koome said the support given by the partners will contribute to the realization of the dream of putting in place independent, accessible, efficient and fair justice system. And the Senate has termed as worrying the ongoing fights and differences between the executive and members of the county assemblies in different counties. Through the devolution committee, it identified Kiambu, Kericho, Kisii, Migori and Busia as some of the counties facing leadership disputes. The committee also pointed to the differences between Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja as some of the conflicts it plans to resolve in the coming days. According to the committee chairperson Mohammed Abbas, the escalating disputes were affecting the spirit of devolution. He said that the committee would visit all the affected counties so as to understand the problem and find a way forward. And thousands of people demonstrated in Goma, the commercial hub in eastern DR Congo, to protest the perceived inaction of an East African military force against the M23 rebel insurgency. This is according to reports coming from the city. The M23, a Tutsi-led group, has captured large swathes of territory in the North Kivu province, recently coming to within a few miles of Goma and its 1 million residents. To aid the Democratic Republic of Congo's authorities, leaders of the seven-nation East Africa community approved the development of a military force to combat the rebels, with the first troops arriving in Goma last November. But the initial hopes of many Congolese have been frustrated as M23 fighters continue their advance. Monday, demonstrators erected barricades in several areas across Goma to protect the EAC force, with some looting shops and torching tires. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Salcedo. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right. So, yeah, exactly. Thika Superhighway is still pretty heavy. And we're looking at the same thing on Kiambu Road. That whole area still with some traffic getting into the city this morning. Traffic hours still on clock. The southern bypass is looking good, so there's an option for you to use. Mombasa is actually not behaving too badly right about now, so you should be all right. Through the morning, let's see what else might be popping. Nothing really. It looks okay as you're getting into the city, coming out of Westlands. But inside there might still be an issue on James Gishoro out towards Waiakiwe. Let's take a look at about 9:30, shall we? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there as we keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room.
Welcome.
The only
this is
way.
the final hour of the Situation Room this Tuesday, 7th day of February 2023. We are here. It's Eric and Ndu. Sophia Wanuna is our guest host today. She's been with us since 6 a.m. And we have two guests who are now joining us for the final hour of conversation. Robert Elai is the member of the County Assembly for Kileleshwa Ward in Nairobi City County. And he is also the Vice Chair of the ICT and Energy Committee of the County Assembly. And Engineer Isaac Ndereva is the Executive Director of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya and an electricity billing expert. Kenya Power has written to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority saying, hey, the way things are, we need to charge a bit more because of the way things are. IPRA, as mandated by law, has now said, I've got to ask the consumers. So IPRA is organizing various consumer sessions across the country so people can actually discuss and give feedback on the proposed increase of tariffs by Kenya Power. And that is what we want to discuss today. I want to welcome the guests by giving them the day's proverb. It's from Malawi. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Gold is a debt you can repay, but kindness not till your dying day. Whenever you seem pensive and you're thinking, this proverb.
Yes. Yes, actually it's a bit straightforward kind of a saying. Although I started fearing Malawi yesterday when I had the first one. And you also struggled to get around it. I don't know the elbow and what happened to the elbow.
If you dip your arm into the pickle pot, let it be up to the elbow.
The pickle pot is what gave us problem, but leave that alone. Today's one is not very complicated.
Straightforward.
It's a straightforward that kindness may not cost you money, but even when you need to repay some kindness which you bleached, even money may not be enough. It will follow you up to, I think you mentioned something about death day or something. Yeah, that is very true.
Up to your dying day.
Yes.
You will not repay.
Yeah.
Robert Elai, good morning.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Karibu to Kenya's biggest conversation again.
Asante sana.
How has it been now so far? I mean, so many months into life as
an MCA. Yeah. We just come from, this is not the right time to ask those things because we have just come from the long recess. It was not long because we did supplementary bill, I think, supplementary budget, I think 2 weeks ago. But the life is very encouraging to see at least some progress. The current assembly is saner.
What does that mean?
Not very sane, but
it's saner.
It is saner than the previous one. The previous two.
Yeah, the two. There's not much. Even with the biggest challenges we've had, nobody's drawing gun or pangas or rungus or gumis on each other. We are trying to ensure that everybody argues and
debates.
Sort out their issues through the debating chambers or through plenaries or through kamkunjis and so on. So I'm very much encouraged.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're working very well, even with the executive.
We're working there. No, Sakaja. Sakaja is a different one. We underrated him. But strategically, as a governor, I think he is a better political manager because he knows how to sort out the interests of the various coalitions. Sometimes even risking his own life. Yeah, but it's surprising to everyone because people thought that Uyu Ataka.
He started by taking you guys out for a retreat. Was it Mombasa?
Nope. We didn't go for a retreat. It took UDA.
It took you.
Sorry. He should have included you.
No.
They refused to go.
No, we refused to go. He called us. We said no.
Yeah.
We were looking for the House leadership, which we got, which we know that a part of UDA wanted the House leadership even now.
Yeah.
But we said no, we are not going because we have to sort issues around. Even now, he has called for a retreat in Naivasha. We have said no. Because they are priority areas. So this is a better house. This is a better assembly,
than what we've seen before. You are the vice chair of the ICT and Energy Committee.
Yes.
What is the mandate of that committee?
Basically, the mandate of the committee is to oversight the department, the two departments, the ICT and the energy departments. And ICT being the engine which is supposed to be driving most of the operations of the county,
and energy also playing a very supportive role in providing the resources necessary for various parts of the departments to operate. So we oversight the two departments, the energy and ICT, which are huge, but ICT is not properly recognized, and that's our main challenge. Is not properly utilized. We don't have a working ERP system in the city. Most of the operations are still manual. You even find HR, payroll systems, even accounting is still being done not in using the various systems of accounting, but you'll find that it's still being run on the Excel and so on. A lot of operations are still very manual. The good thing is that the assembly side is a bit much more automated. Energy, provision of street lights, even things like backup generators to the county headquarters is a big challenge. Is a very big challenge that almost half of the county headquarters is not having a proper backup system. But I think that with a very vibrant energy and ICT committee, we are going to change a lot of things. We hope that then, because sometimes people fear technology. Use a lot of technologies to ensure that the systems operate and smart electricity and so on. We brought a chief officer. We interviewed and brought and recommended a chief officer who we thought was the most qualified person, being even the Forbes list of 20 most powerful energy professionals in the world. Lucky Okudo. But the UDA side rejected her, because of the politics, because of the bombers politics. It was a very controversial interview there. But yeah, so the UDA prevailed and rejected her. So we have lost her. I think she's going to Kisumu. Yeah, but I think she would have really helped us, because she's one of the most qualified people we've ever interviewed, and that's qualified in all ways. She has the best experience. She has, I think, almost a PhD in renewable energy and so on. She's one of the best engineers you'll ever have to run the county energy department. But UDA said no, so
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
All right.
Yes, sir.
We're here because we want to have a conversation. Electricity prices could increase by up to 78% from April if the energy sector regulator approves new tariffs that Kenya Power is seeking to withdraw the monthly subsidy that cushions poor households. The listed utility firm is engaging IPRA for the first upward review of power prices since 2018. Besides increasing the base tariff, Kenya Power is reducing the threshold for accessing the monthly power subsidy, equivalent to a 24% discount from 100 kilowatt hours to the proposed 30 units. So this is going to affect very many people. Of course, Engineer Dereva, you've been here with us many times. We've talked about power and billing. When you first heard that Kenya Power has applied for this tariff review to IPRA, what was your immediate thought?
I think that was expected, because remember, even for the PPA's task force to be formed, it is the consumer organization, ELCOS, that had complained. But we had already gone to Kenya Power and asked them, where is the problem? We realized that they have more problems than we can also even see. And so they were happy to get some scrutiny. When Dr. Kihalangwa went there, people expected that they would get a few things to reduce. But I was sure if he is going to be genuine, they are likely to request for an increase. And that is what happened. Now, even what they are requesting was not actually as per what they would have wanted. Number one, I hear many media houses talking about that it's 78% increase. It's good to say that even if you take your calculator and say you are increasing the domestic lifeline is being increased from 10 shillings to 14 shillings. That is a 40% increase. But because there was some subsidy that had taken it from 10 to 7.7, so it had reduced by 23%. So if you increase from 7.7 to 14, that is going to be 63%. So it's not 78. The other tariff is going to be the domestic ordinary. They had been taken from 15.8 to 12.6. And now they are proposing that 12.6 to go up to 21.68. Again, if you look at that, you take your calculation, it's going to be around, I think, 57% overall. So I don't know where they are getting 78. So that is for the record, and people should go with that. It's 57 to 63%.
So because
is it better?
Is it better? Exactly.
Yeah, actually, it looks like it's better. But if you look at the ordinary tariff, it's going to shoot from what you are paying currently at 26.4 to 37.38, which is
the point of the question being, Isaac, that they're already high. The electricity prices are still high. So now we're saying by an additional 57% on the lower side, based on what you're saying, 57% of an increase of something that people ask is already high. We saw the comparisons between what you would buy for 1,000 shillings of power.
Yes.
Right? In September last year, and what people were paying, same 1,000 shillings, and what they were receiving in terms of units in January this year. Ridiculous increment, or rather ridiculous reduction in terms of the units that you get. And now essentially here we are saying that it's even going to be worse, that what you will buy for 1,000 shillings probably will not be able to light up your house for as long as it was before.
It
so
will
it's
be
ridiculously high.
Units. It will be 26 units per 1,000 from the current, I think, 37.
Dependent on where you live.
Yeah, depending on where.
There are some people right now who are buying 26 units for 1,000 shillings.
Yes. Okay. Now.
So it will be less.
In fact, the push for tomorrow's agenda is, and I think I'm happy that we have the representation of the county government of Nairobi. Let us not look at the participation is going to look at the whole 26 shillings. It's only going to look at the small portion, which is less than 50%, that goes to Kenya Power. We want to push for this participation to include the whole amount, such that we are able to talk about the fuel cost, which is 7 shillings, the forex, and all those things that are actually more than 50%. So we cannot go sit down and discuss about a small portion of the bill, whereas we let the other bit to be left alone to be decided in a boardroom.
Okay, why is that important? And please explain, because an increment to Kenyans who are consumers is an increment. Whether you talk about fuel, whatever. All we are seeing is that it used to be 20 shillings, it is now 60. Why is it important to look at the different segments?
It is important because since 2018, nobody was complaining about power. Since 2018. Why? Because those components were low. Now, what
do you mean nobody was complaining about that?
I mean, you remember there is a time the Director General of EPRA, Pavel Oimeke, came and said power has been reduced, the cost of power has been reduced, and we have removed the standing charges, and several things were removed. And people said, okay, I think we are okay. During that time, those components were brought to about 2.6 shillings. Now, those components right now are 9.97 shillings. Now, we are saying Kenya Power had not requested for any increase. I mean, no increase was effected, yet we found the cost had escalated to a certain point. So now, that had made it escalate is not what we are going to discuss tomorrow. We are going to discuss the price that was set in 2018, which we had no problem with that time. So now, even if Kenya Power would be reduced to get a reduction of about even 20% right now, and then they don't check the other component, you will still realize that we will approach 30 shillings per kilowatt hour. So I think whatever we are doing, if we are not going to discuss those other issues and those other components, and they be fixed such that they will not be varying every month, I think there is no discussion we'll be having. And then you don't expect any citizen to go to KICC and they say, we are okay, we have had Kenya Power and we have given an order that they can increase. Nobody is going to say that. So they will come and tell us, and then they go and effect what they want to do. So basically, I think we have several demands as consumers, and we should be, I think we'll be having a press conference tomorrow, immediately after our discussion with them. And so right there, we'll be able to address issues and say whether we'll be going to court or what we are going to be doing. But it is not going to be acceptable.
Honorable Alai, I don't see anyone Kenyan in this public participation coming out to say, yeah, we understand Kenya Power. Let's proceed. This is the way to go. So is there really any point to this public participation, or is it just ticking a box and that they will end up having their way?
Yeah, you know, definitely that's what I was thinking. This is just ticking a box, because even us in the Assembly, we changed the whole public participation, regulations, and we say that if you are going to call for a public participation, remember there are Kenyans who are probably working in critical areas who will never come to KICC to give their views. Give them a chance to send email. Organize forums where they can chip in through Zoom,
Twitter Spaces.
Yes, use social media now, collect these views, and because if I'm very sure they're not going to get more than 100 people inside there unless you properly mobilize. Because from my short experience in politics, you have to mobilize a lot to get some of the people to come in, even when the issues really concern them. So I think that we need to first ensure that EPRA itself broaden this public participation. Can we ensure that everybody else, including those who are working, because we are the Silicon Savannah, why don't we just send an email? Why don't you ensure that I can post also my Nini through the mailbox? I can share my views, because also some people can do it anonymously, depending on the areas they are working, which will affect their employment. There are people inside KenGen and GDC who know a lot ways which we can. You remember the last time when we had the first substantive CEO of GDC, who revealed to us that people are buying wells not to drill. People are buying basically wells so that they supply generate electricity, because they are ensuring that the power costs remain at a certain stage so that they make their cut. And why we should also ask ourselves why previous CEOs, engineers at Kenya Power and KenGen have these IPPs. Why do we even give retirement packages of IPPs to PS, previous PS at the Ministry of Energy? There are a lot of dynamics, and I think the only person who can properly face the bull by the horns and sort out the electricity mess is first we have to agree that the cost of electricity as it is now, sometimes it is not because of what the cost the generator incurs.
Sure.
It is because of the vested interest in the energy sector.
So if you're looking at that, the vested interest in the energy sector, and then you're going to play it against this public participation that's being called for, let's step into the ideal world for a moment and say, all right, the public participation barazas that have been called for tomorrow at the KICC, right? And it would be that Kenyans of a concerned nature would then come and say, look, we feel that it's too high because it's too high. Others, we feel that it is too high because, how are you applying this over? What would be the ideal situation? You take the views of the people, mix it up with your formula and say, actually, you know what? It's possible for us to, work another 1 year as it is, or absolutely not. We've heard what it is that you have said. However, based on our formula, this cannot happen. From the point of view from Kenyans, it doesn't matter what you do. It is too high. It is too high. That's the end of the story. Is there a space whereby it is actual that public participation involves taking in all the sides that are presented, putting it in this basket and saying, okay, guys, for the good of country, this is the result that we have come out. If we're living in an ideal world for a moment, interests notwithstanding, possible, or is again, as Sophia said, an absolute waste of time? Can we do something else tomorrow morning?
Now, that's a good question, because you are also worried of what are we going to do there. And let me start by saying that based on how this government was formed, and if you looked at the previous government's parliament, there was a lot of compromise. Even when something is not for the public good, some people are just saying, I'm only remaining with like 2 years to be re-elected and I may not come back. Now, that is why the civil society organizations are among the people who are going to shape this country. Their opinion is going to be very important because they are not going to be dependent on some political influence. Now, if you look at even what we are going to discuss tomorrow, the people who are coming to discuss, first of all, they are not aware of the components. So even what they are going to say, you don't expect they are going to be understanding, because they might ask, then why are we paying the IPPs this amount? And then they will say, it's because we supply fuel. IPPs are paid twice. They are first paid by Kenya Power, the amount of money as per their generating units. And then if they don't generate, they are also paid capacity charge for them being on standby. But there is another amount of money they are normally paid to compensate for the fuel they have used. Now, one challenge that we came to realize is that we don't pay based on the fuel consumed. We pay based on the units generated. Then they have a multiplying factor that each unit is supposed to consume such amount of fuel. Even a dot on that constant that they have decided to use. Maybe it was politically determined, and we are going to live with that. I mean, even if you want to check how much fuel you have used in your car, you cannot multiply the kilometers, multiply by the said consumption. You have to say, Hapa, I had put 2,000 shillings. Whether I have gone for
10 liters of fuel.
Yes, so you have to keep on telling us this today. It has not consumed as much as yesterday.
Right.
That is not happening in the IPPs. But then we are saying much as the public may not be aware. In fact, I was surprised. I was waiting for His Excellency the President speech in New Year, and I was expecting that he would talk about power. And for sure he talked. Now, what confused me is that even if he comes for public participation tomorrow,
he doesn't know.
There is something he will not know. Number one, I want to quote him. He said that they are going to look into how power will be cheaper for the category of consumers who are using less than 30 kilowatt hours per month. And then I was asking, Mr. President, there is no such a category in this country. Do you have a CS who is telling you that the category starts from 100? So even when he comes, he will realize that now there is a time we are proposing that the category should start from that coming downward.
Wouldn't it be fun, though, as citizen number one, if he attended public participation on this issue as a citizen?
So you're asking whether
whether he should come.
Well, he should.
He should, of course. But the first thing he should start with is by asking, how is this component, so that even when I'm talking about it.
And I think that's the problem.
Yes.
This whole conversation and the public participation around the country is an engineer's conversation.
Yeah.
It's not a consumer's conversation.
No.
Should there be a way first where IPRA and Kenya Power actually break down when you come in to ask you, tunapanisha stima by XXX in this tariff. How many people understand? So tariff translation into my bill.
It's nobody.
If I object to the increase by 30%, what am I okay with? 15%, 5%? What does that? What does that mean?
And that's why we came in as a society. Personally, I'm an engineer. And that is why I decided that I go to Kenya Power and I tell them, this one I understand. And I also told EPRA, this one I am understanding. But why is this amount? And then they started saying, okay, maybe we are going to look into that. There are very many issues that we have put forward to them. Even when you listen to what what they are doing, the Energy Committee, he quoted about generator and the street lights, and I'm sure there may be several other things they do. But do you know, part of what they should do is the registration on the rural electrification program money. That do they know what they are supposed to do around it? When we were going to even tell the MPs in Mombasa, okay, we didn't make it because for 3 days they were looking at CDF, so we came back.
They were not looking at CDF.
They were looking for CDF.
So
they were waiting for.
They were waiting for. So they got it, we didn't get anything, so we came back. Now, what we are saying is...
in Mombasa?
Yeah. We went because we had even booked. In fact, we even have several appointments, even with the Speaker of the National Assembly. For me and our team to tell him that your people are supposed to do this and this and this. But they are not aware, they have no idea what that means. If you look at the Energy Committee in the National Assembly, you'll be surprised that even for them, they are worried of how are we getting these units when we pay 1,000. They don't know. Yet they are the ones we are expecting to make laws for this to be cheaper. And that is why we have come forward. We are also working the counties. I've just talked to Robert and told him, please organize your energy committee. Let us come and talk to them. We can even be co-opted to be part of the energy committee such that they had an expert that they lost because of the politics. Now, we don't need to be interviewed. We are coming for free.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, do you understand the competence as the vice chair?
Yes.
Of the energy committee at the county?
The components of the
do you under all of this?
Because this tariffs thing, they want to increase tariffs from this to the other.
What I think is that the energy sector in this country is complicating the discussion for gains of individuals. You know, even if you check on your bill, the simplest thing you need to understand is your bill. My bill should be 10 bob per kilowatt hour. Leave alone these components. Then it's bundled with other, you see the breakdown of the bill, you don't even want to read it. it is not palatable to the common man. You know, so even the discussion of the energy, even if you check on the newspaper writing here, you don't even want to read that thing because it is making you more confused. So I think what we need to do is
So what you're saying, like now,
we
for
need to
example,
simplify.
Units 19.25, amount 508 shillings.
Yes.
Token amount, you paid 508, you get a token of 242 shillings.
Yeah.
So some 260 something shillings is gone.
Went to what?
VAT is 60.91%.
Yeah.
Fuel energy charge is 138. What are those?
Yeah.
Forex charge, okay. IPRA charge 0.57. WRA charge, again, what are those?
WRA. We will discuss WRA because they also lobbied for some increment.
Water resource.
Water
Different
resource.
from...
They now want 2 shillings. I will explain.
REP charge...
Rural
That is another one.
Yes, 12.2 rural electrification program. Inflation adjustment 16.36. So you've paid 508 shillings. Of course, you're charged for the service some 9 shillings, and then you get 242 shillings worth of power.
Yeah. That's a challenge. That's a challenge I have with that bill.
You also have a challenge. As a chairman, as
because
the
you
vice
know
chairman.
the simplest thing.
Yes.
A consumer should understand is this thing.
Yes,
I've paid 20 bob. Okay. Don't explain to me all these taxes. Just told me you've only got electricity worth 18 bob.
Yes.
Then it ends like that. But now you're given all these things. It means that this discussion is they're not encouraging transparency. They're trying to confuse you.
And that transparency,
on the contrary, Robert.
Yes.
I think if they just said taxes and levies, 300
That's
bob,
now when they would be
you'd have
hiding
an
something.
issue.
We are the ones who pushed for them to be.
You want to
transparent.
see what are these components of these taxes and levies.
Yes.
So that you're clear, nani nakulang nini. Now we know water resources are kulling this much. Rural electrification is kulling this much.
Yeah.
Njoroge with VAT is kulling this much.
Forex.
You know.
Forex.
Imagine. Let's take what Ndu has just read. If how much is the power you've consumed?
508 shillings is worth 508. Well, the actual power, 242.56.
Imagine if they brought you that. They told you you paid 500. Then you only got power worth 40-something%.
In fact, the better would be the power.
I'll have the question.
What was the rest of the money?
You see why this thing is convenient to them, because you know that one will scare you. Everybody will protest that there is no tax, which is going to be 60-something%.
In fact, I wanted us to discuss something to do with Warma. You know how Warma charges us? Warma is the money.
Say who Warma is.
Warma is Water Resource Management. Water Resource Management Authority.
It's called Water Resource Authority.
Yes. Now, what happens is that water gets in. I don't know which is the first dam in the Seven Forks, but imagine it's Kamburu. And then you go to Kindaruma, then you go to wherever, Kiambere, like that. Now, they charge us per unit generated by the plants. This water may come through Kiambere and then exit through Kindaruma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then why are you charged twice? As in, Kanjo is selling you water. When you use water to clean clothes, you pay. When you need to use the same water to go and flush the toilet, you pay again. I mean, and yet they are claiming that they need an increment as Warma. And I mean, that is one area again you need. Then
but how is that so? I mean, if they are charging you per unit generated,
yes.
See, that unit was generated by one dam.
Yes.
Can the same unit be generated by 3 dams?
But they are not in charge of dams. They are in charge. I mean, it is a dam, but the water is continuous. I mean, I have exhausted this water here, and it has led.
So how would you rather they charge?
I would recharge based on the amount of water that has gone into one dam, the first dam. If you have an increased capacity on the second dam, then charge the difference, and then up to the last one. But you cannot keep on charging. I mean, what has come in has gone out, you recharge again. Then you see, I mean, you can't see. So, and Warma are saying we need an increment. Now, come to rural electrification program. It's a government program, isn't it? And it's actually supposed to be funded in 5 different ways. 5, according to the legal notice. They only try to pretend that it is only getting money from consumers. Yet we don't know how they get other monies and they don't account for it. But then even when we talk about it is a government, even let me even talk of EPRA and Warma. Those are government agencies I will talk of. They are supposed to be paid by the government. Now, if the government is taking the VAT 16%, it should be able to pay them instead of telling us, we've gotten our VAT, but this guy has not been sorted. I mean, how do you give someone a job and then you pay him like the mechanic, how they do? You pay them, then they tell me, there was this guy who was coming for the wiring, there's this other guy who ni warivet, huyu mwingine ni wan. That is what that is what they are doing. That is what the government is doing. Once we pay it 16%, it should be able to sort out amongst your agents.
What was the logic though for rural electrification? Is it not that this money is then used for rural electrification? It's not for maintaining the office.
It's okay.
It's like when you pay the road maintenance levy when you're buying fuel. It is not for running the office.
No, Eric.
It is for maintaining roads.
It's not just, if you remember when Kena Robert were coming in, they were promising that we are going to put electricity lighting, I think this street lighting, we are going to extend, you need this transformer. You see, that money, it is a government promising. Now, if the government has promised, why do you then want to charge me to connect them? Yet you are the one. I mean, it's the government's job to ensure that there is development in your country. Yeah. And so the tax you get from us should be sufficient for you to do that. You cannot keep on coming and saying, we got our tax, thank you very much. But you see, you are also, we promise that you are going to extend the power from here to here, and we have agreed, but you have to give us this money to do it. I mean, what was your job?
Okay, let's take a break. Let's take a break. Charles will be back. I didn't realize it's already 22 minutes to 10. The conversation continues. Hey, do that thing. Minute Maid break.
Isaac?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You need a moment. Need a Minute Maid break.
Thank you.
All the flavors, apple, nectar, mango, and tropical, gives you an opportunity to just take a moment with Minute Maid and have that refreshment when you need to declutter that space. Do it. Do it today with Minute Maid.
And gentlemen, you can actually go to Vipingo and buy a home, courtesy of Centum Real Estate. Iko pesa. You're an engineer, you're almost mayor.
There's a very good golf club.
Do you see now?
Next to this, Centum Real Estate is launching the second phase of Palm Ridge Apartments from as low as 1.98 million shillings with a deposit of 198,000 shillings, and then the rest you pay in flexible installments. All you need to do is call the number 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215, or SMS the word Vipingo to 22365. That's Vipingo to 22365. The conversation continues shortly. Good morning, 20 to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunny conditions through Nairobi at 21, highs of 30 and lows of 16 today. It's sunny at 20 in Nakuru and 19 and sunny in Nyeri. It's 19 and sunny in Eldoret, and we'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa, where the sun is up at 30. 29 and cloudy conditions in Malindi, highs of 31, and it's 25 and sunny in Kisumu, going to highs of 30. We'll see 31 as the high in a sunny Kakamega at 26. Out in Kampala, the sun is up at 24, highs of 29, and it'll go to highs of 32 in Dar es Salaam. 16 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and highs of 33 in Lagos, where it's cloudy at 26. 22 and sunny in Kinshasa, highs of 33. Looking out into Beijing, Tuesday evening, it's sunny at 6, highs of 7 and lows of -5, and it's 0 in Paris, highs of 7 and lows of -2. It's a foggy morning in London at 1 degree, highs of 8 and lows of -1, and 1 degree and clear in New York still Monday night. Coming into Tuesday, highs of 5 and lows of 1.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, maybe the last of traffic coming off the Thika Superhighway. We'll wait and see. Coming through towards Survey is where most of it is, but it's still bumper to bumper and quite heavy on the A4. Also on Outer Ring, looks much better now, coming in from Manyanja, Kangundo. What was happening on Juja Road is thinning out now, so fantastic. Westlands also, the dregs of traffic is what we're dealing with now, just around Wayaki Way. But into the CBD, looks much better. Spice FM KE through the morning. Tell us what's going on where you are, but we should be okay for now till later on in the day.
Spice FM, Malindi. Business news with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. A Kenyan delegation is in the US to finalize negotiations on possible areas of partnerships on strategic trade and investment. Talks between Kenya and the US began in July 2020 after the US elections in November 2020. President Biden's administration initiated a fresh round of negotiations. These, however, stalled, but bilateral engagements were revived in December last year. Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has said his target is to grow investments in Kenya from the current $500 million annually to $10 billion in 5 years and increased the value of exports from the current 10% of GDP to 30% by the year 2025. The Kenya Pipeline Company is looking for a new managing director after a labor court last week suspended the appointment of Joe Sang in an acting capacity. The Employment and Labor Relations Court ordered KPC to replace Sang with an insider. In January, Attorney General Justin Muturi okayed the appointment of Sang as the KPC MD. The AG said that there was no law that barring appointment of acting MD from outside KPC. A Kenyan court rejected a bid by Facebook's parent company Meta to stop a case accusing it of exploitation and poor working conditions. The suit was filed by a former content moderator at Sama, a company contracted by Meta to review Facebook posts, and alleges that workers in Kenya were subjected to inhumane conditions, including forced labor, irregular pay, and no right to unionize. Meta sought to have the case struck down, arguing that the local Employment and Labor Relations Court had no jurisdiction over it because it is neither based in nor trades in Kenya. But High Court Judge Jacob Gikeri dismissed the request. And Flexi Personal is looking for a private label manager with a degree in sales and marketing, business administration, or procurement with at least 5+ years of experience in retail. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 10th of February 2023. Visit jobs.diga.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Diga Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, it's a quarter to 10. The conversation continues with our guest, Robert Lai, MCA from
Mornings.
Nairobi and Vice Chair of the ICT and Energy Committee, and Engineer Isaac Ndereva from the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. We are talking about public participation forum that's been called for tomorrow at the KICC, where Kenya Power wants to explain why it's applying for an upward revision of tariffs. Now, who is likely to attend this meeting tomorrow? And how many of the people who are likely to attend that meeting tomorrow are actually going to be engaging on the substance of the matter? This is our application. We want to raise a tariff from this to this for this category of client. We want to reduce or to remove incentives from here to here. How many people are going to understand that discussion? Any estimation, Dereva?
You don't expect many. In fact, they have gone around Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu. And probably even those people who have already attended should be able to tell us what did they talk about. And then there could also be people who will understand what needs to be talked about. But then even when they have their input, they will not be considered, because nobody said that if you have refused when you are 100 of you, that we don't want power to go up. They are not mandated to take your contribution. Yeah, it's not a vote. So they will say, we have heard you, but it is not possible to do what you are saying. So it may be rejected, it may be adopted, they may become more intelligent in listening to you. And in fact, most of what they were calling it public hearing. So when you hear, you have a choice of go making noise as you go home, provided you have heard. So I don't know what they are. But of course, as consumer society, this organization has decided that it is going to be given some space to present a few minutes, even if it's going to be 15 minutes. It has to be given that portion so that we can present the technical details of what we have come to establish on behalf of the consumers. If they will not be willing to hear that means then they just want those people who do not understand to attend. So if they do not allow us, then that means that we are going to go to have a press conference out there, and then we will be going to court. So we must be listened to, and if the consumers will listen to us explaining to them what it means, then that is the only time they can make a right decision. Otherwise, we cannot just depend on them telling us, and then we say it's okay, because they will hide for us. Like now, there is some money that is supposed to be paid to Lake Turkana wind turbine. It's supposed to be put, I think it's around 42 million euros. Do you know how you pay that money and how much it is now? You know, they cannot tell you because they have not told you that. Do you know how you end up paying for the transmission losses? Have you seen it in your bill? You have not seen it. They will not tell you. So even when you are going to, the last time the transmission losses were 14.9, when they were taken from 14.9 to 19.9, was there public participation? Who said yes to that? And what were the reasons? So we must be allowed as consumers and the representation of the consumers to tell consumers during that forum what that means and what is going to be affected, what it is possible, what is politics. So we must be allowed. If that doesn't happen, of course, we are going to go to court.
Then you'll go to court
and block them. Yeah.
Robert, as representatives of the people in the county assembly,
yes,
but as political leaders in Nairobi, are you planning to attend this meeting?
You'll have to attend. You'll have to attend as the leadership of the committee. I've already whipped my committee members, and a good number of them, I think 5-6 of them, have indicated they are very much interested in this conversation, and they will attend. The challenge I have is that sometimes when you advocate against these things and that's why I say that the person who can help us solve this mess of powers and power bills is the president. I said it during the State House conversations on the energy when the president was campaigning, President Uhuru was campaigning for his second term. And I think I'll still say it now, that the last time we went to court with my good friend Apollo Mboya, there's a very funny out-of-court settlement which happened there, which nobody understands up to now how it went about. And because the interests are huge, sometimes if even the CEOs of the various entities in the power sector, the KPLC, Kenya, Ketraco, and Kengen, decide to be on the side of consumers, they'll be shown the barrel of a gun. So because the interest is outside these institutions. If, as a people, we can rise up, and it will need a lot of chanting and a lot of voicing out our issues, we can stop this. But the person who we elected to represent as the most powerful person in this land is the president. And if he stands with the consumer, we'll sort this mess.
But the president is on record, Alai, talking about you cannot subsidize consumption because the 15% cuts that President Kenyatta had introduced lapsed in December, right? So on all of whether it's unga, he's been removing everything and saying if there's going to be subsidies, it's on the production aspect, things like fertilizer and all that. So how do you see then him coming out to say stand with Mwananchi when he's talking about let's raise more money, tax more? That's the conversation right now dominating the political landscape. And so then the approach we are seeing with Ruto now, of course, is beginning his first term. And I wonder for you whether Uhuru Kenyatta was playing politics in all of these subsidies and cushioning Kenyans, and that you have now more realistic president, or is it a president that is also looking at the books and how they're not balancing, and that something has to give?
The new president always has that benefit of doubt, which people still give you 1 year. And, people still at least trust that you can be better.
Some goodwill.
Yeah, there's some goodwill. And I believe that you can. You don't reduce the cost of power by only subsidizing. you can also sort out these other vested interests, the IPPs, the cost which cannot be understood, the WAMA, like he's saying, the double charges on many aspects. Let's have that conversation. Let's say that the IPPs, how much power are you supplying and what are you charging? What is the cost of the power from the geothermal? What is the cost of the hydro? And what is the cost of the generated power? So we have that conversation. And out of that cost, what is your actual cost? Because you remember the days when people used to say that, people drained dams so as to supply power using the generators. And I think the interests are so huge that the president, if he was on the side of the consumers, I think we'll see a reduction of not less than 50%.
But engineer said something interesting a little bit earlier, that the last pronouncements I think you heard from the president made you wonder whether even he understands the issues at play. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm just wondering where you're hoping this
like me, he's not a power professional. I got interested and understood the a bit of the power issues when the GDC issue came up. When they were pushing you remember when even the CEO could not even go back to his house. He was living in some hotel in Upper Hill, fearing for his life, and eventually was pushed out of office. And I came to understand how the IPPs and the interest, and that's when I got a chance to meet the president, who I say that, let's not ask the minister, let's not ask the PS, let's not ask Kenyan, you are the person who can. Because these powerful cartels are going to ensure that we pay very high cost for power. And is not going to help, it's not going even to the government, it's going to individuals. So the only way for the president to solve this, sometimes the president is assumed to be the best doctor, the best military general, the best engineer, and he has to learn all these things because he has his people who are professionals. So he has to get people who can tell him the truth and tell him that, we are paying this, and that's why, behind the person who is telling him the truth, there's a person who is going to back up that truth with another truth. And I believe that the president has the machinery to get the correct picture, condensed to him and presented to the public. Then he makes a decision. I believe that in a short while, if he is interested in facing those costs, I don't know where the interest can come in. Maybe they contributed campaign funds or so on, but without proper interest from himself, I think he can sort out the part.
But even Sophia, there's something you have said about he cannot subsidize consumption. In Kenya, electricity is not consumption; it's production, and it is possible for you to remove VAT on the electricity bills and still get VAT in other ways because of production. So you are actually, if he subsidizes, I'm not saying he subsidizes, but he might decide not to tax. Because again, subsidy, we say it's not necessary to pick money, then you give me back. The best way is to say, I have reduced your tax from this to this. That is the best. So just wanted to correct you that subsidizing electricity is not subsidizing consumption. It's actually subsidizing production. And you are likely to get VAT and the rest of the other things from what that electricity is going to do. Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to add to that from where you sit, perhaps those who call for that, all of these problems we have around power and the high cost is the Kenya Power perceived and seen to be a monopoly, that we need to have that very hard conversations of where Kenyans have more options. Si mvua kidogo ikukuja, blackout, wait for it, in 3, 2, boom, gone. Where do you stand on that?
Actually, the blackouts do not come as a result of
that was on
rain. Okay. So,
on the monopoly aspect.
On the monopoly bit, I think we got a new Energy Act in 2019 March, and it's also it's a pity that a lot is supposed to be done by the county government. Because actually, why the act was being redone from the 2006 is because there was the introduction of the county government and devolution. So a lot of these issues were again devolved. But even when you go and ask the energy committees in the counties, what is your job? Probably they will still say we want to provide backup generators and we want to add street lighting, but they don't know about the legislation of the same. Now, during that new act, it introduced that anybody else can distribute power, not just Kenya Power. But the catch is here: when you want to take your power from Orkaria Geothermal, you want to take it to Umoja. Where are you going to get the way leave. As you get the way leave, and remember even what Kenya Power has as the way leave is not their property, it's public property. So we also need to come in with another team and say, what you are claiming to be your way leave can also be used by another distributor as their way leave because it's public property. So that leeway is there, but they are only existing as a result of circumstances that nobody wants. I mean, the infrastructure is too expensive to put up, but it has been opened up.
We're going to get there.
I'm not sure. I don't know who is likely to be saying. It is easy to supply power as during the off-grid where you put solar and supply to a community. But where you require to be competing with Kenya Power, it's going to be very complicated. And at the same time, you may just come in, whatever you are taking is 30%, then the government takes the other 70%. You cannot come in such kind of a business. So many people are also fearing. So it will remain like that for a long time.
Okay, so let's come back to reality. Do you see a possibility of Kenya Power not getting an approval to their request for an increase in tariffs?
Yes. There are three ways. They may get the full approval, but then that is the most likely scenario, that they are going to get an approval of some amount, not the whole application of about 40%.
Okay.
It is 37 for one tariff and 40 for the other. They may just get a half. I am saying 40 because you remember the 23 was the subsidy.
Okay.
But people are now starting calculating from the subsidy amount. But I wanted us to talk about how was it in 2018 because that is how it was in 2021. Okay. So now they are applying for 37 or 40% increment. They may get about around 20. But for the consumers not to feel the effect, the three components of the forex, fuel cost and inflation will be brought down from 9.96 to something like 4 shillings. So you'll not realize that actually there was an increment, but it has been approved. But as you move on, those three components that were 9.96 will eventually be even 15, yet Kenya Power has not gotten any other increment. So those are the scenarios. The other scenario is that we may block it as consumer organization. And we say there are several other factors that you need to have considered, but even this public participation has not met the threshold. Just the same way the BBI was told that yes, we agree you have done public participation, but it has not met the threshold.
Okay.
So those are the likely scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Engineer Isaac Dereva is the Executive Director of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya and also an electricity billing expert. And Robert Alai is a member of the County Assembly representing people of Kileleshwa in the County Assembly of Nairobi and is also the Vice Chairman of the ICT and Energy Committee. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you, Sophia, for joining us today. You'll be back tomorrow?
Thank you for having me.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be here. Have a lovely day, people.
I shall be watching and listening.
It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life